The CEO froze, his heart pounding as two giggling 3-year-old twins burst into his luxury resort suite, chasing a tiny puppy. But when the children's mother arrives, he recognized her. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Now subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. Picture this: a sun-drenched luxury resort perched on a pristine beach, where warm ocean breezes drift lazily through towering palms. Guests in white linen lounge beside an infinity pool, sipping tropical drinks and chatting about exclusive business deals, or simply indulging in well-deserved relaxation. It's a place where the wealthy and influential come to escape, completely certain that no trouble can ever breach these polished walls of paradise. But trouble finds its way in unusual forms. And today, at the heart of this opulent coastal haven, trouble is about 3 years old, adorably mischievous, and wearing matching striped shorts. Meet Carter Sinclair, a confident, impossibly composed CEO. Renowned for transforming modest companies into unstoppable corporate powerhouses, his name appears on magazine covers, from business columns to society pages. He's the kind of man who walks into a room and never has to introduce himself. His presence says it all. But behind those composed features, Carter's heart is shielded by a fortress built from deadlines, deals, and towering responsibilities. For years, his only true companion has been business. He's never known fatherhood, never allowed himself to dwell on the idea of settling down. In Carter's world, family is something that might exist in an abstract someday, after expansions and mergers are concluded. A wife? Children? Those are afterthoughts filed away under possibility in his mental ledger. So naturally, the last thing this impossibly wealthy, precisely organized CEO expects is a pair of tiny tornadoes barreling into his life, let alone calling him daddy in front of half the staff at an exclusive resort. Our story begins on a simmering summer afternoon at the Grand Azure Resort. Turquoise waves lap against the private beachfront, and meticulously groomed staff rush to meet every desire of the discerning clientele. At exactly 2 o'clock, Carter arrives in a sleek black town car that matches the aura of his quiet self-assurance. He steps out, runs a hand through his neatly styled hair, and raises an eyebrow at the personal concierge waiting to greet him. If you looked at him from a distance, you'd assume he's as unshakable as the tinted glass of his million-dollar vehicle. He checks in, thanks the staff with a gracious but distant nod, and ascends the elevator to the top floor. There, the presidential suite awaits him. A full ocean view, private butler's service, and the kind of plush furnishing that only the world's elite can afford. A perfect environment for Carter to finalize negotiations on a forthcoming expansion of his company. It's also a place he's used to, this life of sanitized luxury. But the mood is about to shift. Downstairs in the resort's lobby, a petite woman named Emily wrestles with 2 squirming 3-year-olds, Daisy and Dylan. They're sweet little lookalikes, both with wide, curious eyes and more energy than a storm at sea. Emily tries her best to maintain a patient smile, but her cheeks are flushed with the effort. She's already apologized to the front desk staff for the children's excited yelps. Every time she leans down to calm them, Daisy or Dylan wiggles away, chasing after something new and fascinating. They're here on a short getaway courtesy of Emily's friend, who arranged a discount. Emily never intended to cross paths with Carter Sinclair, nor the sophisticated circles he inhabits. She came only for a bit of rest, to breathe fresh ocean air and let her toddlers burn off energy splashing in calm shallows. She's never imagined a scenario more complicated than scheduling swim lessons, certainly not revealing that these twins have a father they've never met. But fate rarely sends a polite warning before turning your entire life upside down. As soon as Emily receives a text message from housekeeping about a booking error with her suite, she hurries to sort it out, glancing down for only a second. In that exact instant, Daisy notices a tiny puppy, a fluffy, wiggly ball of fur that belongs to a honeymooning couple across the lobby. The puppy yips happily, thinking the squealing children are new playmates, and bolts toward a corridor. Daisy squeals and chases after it. Dylan follows, giggling about the puppy game. Emily's pleas to stay put disappear into the hum of lounge chatter. Before the startled mother can even set down her bag, the children vanish around the corner. The puppy sprints toward a gold-plated elevator that's about to close. Daisy and Dylan slip through the doors a moment before they slide shut, leaving Emily behind in horror. She can only stare as the glowing numbers climb upward. 6, 7, 8. Penthouse. Once again, fate has arranged a collision course that no one, in particular one steely businessman, can dodge. Upstairs in Carter's suite, everything is as pristine as his daily routine. He's leaning over his laptop on a marble desk, scanning the final details for tomorrow's big meeting. The hush of the space is broken only by the faint hum of the air conditioner. Crisp lines and subdued colors confirm that Carter hates clutter, physical or mental. He's not anticipating any visitors, especially not small ones with sticky fingers and big questions. And yet, a shrill bark suddenly echoes through the hallway. Carter frowns. There isn't supposed to be any pet in his room. He's never cared for animals. Next, the scampering of tiny feet. Carter's brow furrows in confusion. He stands from his desk as the double doors of the suite swing wide. In tumble 2 giggling children and 1 frantic puppy. The kids nearly skid across the polished marble floor, Daisy squealing, "Gotcha!" as she tries to hug the fuzzy escape artist. Dylan stands behind, half laughing, half applauding his sister's attempt to wrangle the puppy. They haven't noticed Carter yet. He stands by the desk, arms folded, dumbstruck at the hurricane that has torn through his solitude. He clears his throat, a noise meant to convey disapproval, but it emerges more like bafflement. 2 sets of bright eyes lock onto him, and the puppy yips again in greeting. Daisy releases her hold on the little dog and stares at Carter with curiosity. Dylan blinks, as though trying to place Carter's tall silhouette. Then, in comedic unison, the twins tilt their heads. For a single heartbeat, Carter wonders if he's still in control of the situation, but the children shuffle closer, tiny footsteps echoing. "Hi," Daisy ventures, her voice sweet yet fearless. She clutches the puppy to her chest. Dylan, less chatty, just nods solemnly. Carter loosens his tie. "Who are you?" he asks, trying to maintain composure. "And how did you get in here?" Daisy shrugs. "We're following Puppy," she says, as if that explains everything. Her wide eyes are scanning the enormous windows and the plush sofa. Dylan tries to pat the puppy on the head, but it squirms out of his grip again, dancing precariously near an antique glass coffee table. Panicking, Carter edges around the children, hoping to prevent the puppy from shattering that costly centerpiece. He's an expert negotiator in corporate boardrooms, yet at this moment, he feels ill-equipped to manage 2 toddlers and a hyper-pup. "Slow down," he says, voice firm but not unkind. He imagines staff can come retrieve these kids, someone's kids. After all, such a mix-up must be on the resort's tab, right? He's about to reach for the landline phone when an out-of-breath Emily stumbles in. Hair a bit wild, eyes wide. She's the portrait of maternal desperation. "Daisy, Dylan!" She gasps, relieved to see them safe. Then she notices Carter. Her face drains of color like she's seen a ghost. And not just any ghost, but the one who, unknowingly, changed her life years ago. The puppy, thoroughly entertained by the children's laughter, scampers happily around the sofa. Daisy and Dylan chase after it. Meanwhile, Emily is locked in a silent stare with Carter. It's the stunned look of 2 people with years of unspoken history swirling in the space between them. If you looked closely, you'd see Carter's expression of cold detachment waver for half a second. Something behind his eyes flickers with recognition, a memory reawakened from a corner of his mind. "Emily?" he finally says, voice low and uncertain. He braces his hands on the back of an armchair. The unstoppable Carter Sinclair never stutters, never hesitates. But right now he can barely muster the next word. Emily tries to steady her breathing. I didn't think... She glances at the twins, who are now enthralled by the glittering view beyond the massive windows. The front desk said they might have assigned the wrong suite, but I didn't realize it was yours. You have kids? Carter blurts, eyes darting from Emily to the twins. And suddenly he sees the shape of Daisy's nose, an uncanny reflection of his own. Dylan's thoughtful scowl? He's worn that same expression 1,000 times in the office. These children resemble him in a way that's too striking to ignore. He may be many things, but Carter Sinclair is no fool. Emily steps forward, lips parted as if searching for the right words. The world around them seems to hold its breath. This is the moment that splits Carter's life in two, severing the before from whatever uncertain after he's about to face. "We should talk," she manages at last, voice trembling. "There's a lot I need to tell you about Daisy and Dylan." Carter swallows. His typical confidence fails him in the face of two sets of wide, innocent eyes. How could he not have known? He's built an empire, anticipating every risk and controlling every outcome, but fatherhood? This was never in the plans. The only coherent thought resounding in his head is, how on earth did I miss this? Before Carter can reply, the puppy leaps onto his polished leather shoe, demanding attention. Daisy giggles. Dylan does a little dance, clapping his hands. Emily tries to hush them, worried about Carter's reaction. But the strangest thing occurs. Instead of scolding them, Carter bends down. His once meticulous posture softens, just slightly, as he gently lifts the puppy away from the precarious table edge. It's a fleeting gesture, but it's enough to confirm that everything is about to change. For Carter, for Emily, and especially for two bright-eyed twins who've unwittingly revealed a secret that can no longer remain hidden. A single moment lingers between Carter and Emily, suspended like a breath that refuses to release. The twins, oblivious to the adult tension, remain enthralled with the wiggling puppy. Dylan's bright laughter rings against the polished walls as the puppy tries to lick his cheek, while Daisy tugs on Emily's blouse, asking if they can keep the funny doggy. Carter, normally decisive and precise, finds himself frozen, hands braced on the back of a velvet armchair. His gaze darts between the children and Emily. He notices the familiar tilt of Dylan's chin, the fierce glimmer in Daisy's eyes. He recognizes those traits, remnants of his own childhood mirror. And yet, it's impossible, he thinks. These are her kids. Are they my kids too? Emily clears her throat, trembling as she scoops Daisy into her arms. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They chased this puppy, and the elevator... She runs a hand over her face, flustered and breathing unevenly. I didn't mean to invade your privacy. Carter inhales quiet for a beat, then motions for her to step away from the twins. We need to talk, he says, voice low. Even that simple phrase brims with tension. He wants to demand answers, wants clarity. But under the surface, there's a foreign mix of panic and, strangely, protectiveness. Emily nods, passing a gentle request to Daisy. Stay here with your brother, sweetheart. Let Mommy speak with Mr. Sinclair. The puppy bounds around their feet, making the moment both surreal and oddly domestic. Carter, unaccustomed to an environment of squealing children, tries to maintain composure as they step into the next room, an adjacent sitting area partitioned by tall wooden doors. The children remain in the main suite, distracted by the plush sofa and the puppy's antics. As soon as they're out of the twins' earshot, Carter speaks, his tone teetering between shock and an edge of anger. Where have you been all these years? No greeting or small talk, just the direct question. His stare drills into her, demanding an explanation. Emily's cheeks burn. Her first instinct is to defend herself, but her deeper emotion is guilt. Carter, she begins softly, I tried to tell you. Several times, actually. She clutches her purse as if it might anchor her. After that night at the charity gala, Remember when I was just a staff assistant? You left for Hong Kong the next morning? I tried to reach your office, but you'd already changed your number and—" He presses his lips into a stern line. That was 5 years ago. He can't help replaying his timeline. The crucial expansions in Hong Kong, a whirlwind of travel. It's not that he deliberately cut ties with everyone in his old sphere, but in his mind, that part of his life was done. He never realized she had tried to call. Emily looks away, exhaling. I discovered I was pregnant soon after. I wanted to tell you, but every channel to contact you closed off. And once you became so prominent, so constantly in the press, I lost my nerve. She steps forward, her voice turning urgent. I never asked you for anything, Carter. Never wanted your money. I just didn't know how to force my way into your world. And after a while, I convinced myself that you wouldn't want to know. Carter's eyes flash. That wasn't your decision to make, he retorts. His heart pounds at the realization. He has 2 children he's never known. A lifetime's worth of fatherly images flicker through his mind. First words, first steps, birthdays, moments he wasn't there for. His frustration flares, but behind that frustration is a deep sense of loss. Emily glances down, twisting her fingers. I'm not saying I did the right thing. I was scared. I wasn't sure you could handle it, or even wanted to. I mean, you always said you had no interest in settling down. He flinches at her paraphrase. He did say those things. Repeatedly. His world was about building an empire, not building a family. And now? He asks quietly, crossing his arms over his chest. What brings you here to this resort? It's not exactly a budget destination. She hesitates. A friend of mine had a partial voucher. She knew I was exhausted and Daisy and Dylan wanted to see the beach. We're only here for a short while, I swear. This place is beyond my means. I never thought I'd see you. There's a beat of silence. They're each trying to process the waves of complicated history and unspoken longing that fill the space. Carter's gaze drifts to the closed door where, on the other side, his children, are giggling, rummaging through a plush basket of towels or chasing that puppy. Something inside him tightens, grappling with the truth that he's missed 3 years of their lives. He clears his throat, attempting to refocus. Well, we need a plan, he says, voice forced into his usual business-like calm. They can't just stay in a random suite. I'll have the staff assign you something more appropriate, bigger, and safer. The paternal edge in his tone surprises even him. He barely knows these kids, yet the notion of them lodging in a cramped room or with poor security sets his nerves on edge. Emily crosses her arms, cheeks coloring. I can't accept your money or your help, Carter. I've managed this far without— They're my kids, Carter interrupts, a note of finality in his voice. And I don't leave my children in substandard conditions. He bristles at how forcibly the words emerged. It's almost like negotiating a corporate deal, but with an emotional twist he's never encountered. At least let me handle the lodging while you're here. Emily looks as though she wants to argue, but exhaustion lines her features. Fine, she relents, because deep down, she's always put Daisy and Dylan first. She's not the naive young assistant from years ago, but she's still a single mother on a short fuse of resources. A few nights in safe, comfortable quarters would be a blessing. The tension in the air shifts as both realize their conversation can't end with just new room arrangements. 1,000 questions remain unasked. Medical histories, how the twins have grown up, how they're coping, even their birthdays. Carter tries to swallow a surge of regret. On the other side of that door, the children continue to squeal with pure delight. I'd like to see them, he says quietly. The twins. Talk to them, if that's okay. Emily nods. Of course, just be gentle. They're only 3, and this is a lot of change. She rubs her neck. For them and for me. Carter opens the door, revealing the living area turned playground. Daisy and Dylan have invented a makeshift game stacking decorative couch pillows into a mountain. The puppy scampers across, wagging its tail with glee. As soon as Carter and Emily enter, Dylan points at Carter with fearless curiosity. "Who are you?" he asks, though in that adorable 3-year-old diction that almost sounds like, "Ho are you?" Carter takes a careful step forward, his 6-foot frame dwarfing the toddler. "I'm Carter," he begins carefully, forcing a soft smile. "And, well," he glances at Emily. She gives him a slight nod. Even so, he can't bring himself to say, "I'm your father," outright. It feels too abrupt, too surreal. Dylan doesn't notice the hesitation. He's already busy picking up the puppy's leash, trying to coax the dog back. Daisy scrambles closer to Emily, momentarily shy, though she keeps sneaking wide-eyed peeks at Carter. Finally, she pipes up, "You got a pretty place?" Carter's chest twists. "Thank you," he replies. I worked hard on it, but it's mostly just for big people with laptops." He sees her wrinkling her nose, not entirely sure what he means by that. "Are we in trouble?" Daisy asks suddenly, her voice quivering with the worry only a small child can conjure. "Because Puppy ran in here?" Emily opens her mouth to console Daisy, but Carter kneels, going eye to eye with the little girl. "No," he answers, surprisingly gentle. "You're not in trouble. Sometimes grown-ups just get worried, that's all, especially when little explorers run off somewhere alone." Her expression brightens, but she steps closer to Emily. It's Dylan who giggles, tugging Carter's sleeve. "Puppy explorer," he says. Carter cannot help the slight grin that lifts the corners of his mouth. "Yes, puppy explorer," he echoes, patting the puppy's head. A phone chimes from Emily's purse, snapping the delicate moment. She glances at the screen, possibly housekeeping or the front desk about the mix-up. She mutters an apology and crosses the room for a moment of privacy, leaving Carter momentarily with the children. Daisy's eyes roam around, fascinated by the suite's soaring windows. "Is that the ocean?" she asks, pointing to the sparkling water outside. Carter nods. "That's the ocean. Have you been swimming yet?" "Not yet," Daisy says, shaking her head fervently. "Mommy said maybe tomorrow if the waves are nice." Her eyes light up with excitement. Carter stands, pressing his lips together. He's never felt so unsteady. 1,000 questions swirl. Are they allergic to anything? What do they like to eat? Do they have favorite bedtime stories? The reality hits him like a powerful current. These children are half his, and he knows next to nothing about them. He spent his life controlling every aspect of his own domain, but he can't control the past 3 years. He can only step into the future and try not to make a mess of things. Emily finishes her call, turning back to him. "They have a suite for me down the hall," she says, discreetly avoiding the awkward phrase, "courtesy of you." She tries a calm, measured tone, but emotion simmers beneath. "I'll get the kids settled, and maybe we can talk more tomorrow." Carter nods. "Let me know what you need. Anything." The words tumble out more fervently than he intended. He casts a final glance at Daisy and Dylan, who are currently enthralled by the puppy's attempt to chew on a cushion corner. "We'll figure it out." For a fraction of a second, Emily's eyes soften. She sees, beyond the exterior, Carter's genuine confusion and concern. Maybe fatherhood was never in his plans, but the flicker of protectiveness in his gaze is undeniable. "Thank you," she whispers, feeling more vulnerable than she has in a long time. Moments later, the twins wave goodbye in their clumsy toddler manner, with Daisy giving a small wave and Dylan repeating, "Bye-bye, Carter," as though they've already made a new friend. They step into the corridor, the puppy's owner having turned up to retrieve their wandering pet. Emily guides them away, each twin holding her hand. Then silence drapes over the suite. Alone once more, Carter stands in the middle of his opulent space, awash in swirling thoughts. Meeting agendas and contract negotiations evaporate from his mind. He's only able to replay Dylan's bright eyes and Daisy's sweet, inquisitive voice. The layers of composure he's always worn now feel flimsy. He's a father. The knowledge is both terrifying and strangely exhilarating. Letting out a slow exhale, Carter sinks into the nearest armchair, realizing that from this moment forward, life will never be the same. Carter doesn't sleep well that night. Long after Emily leaves with Daisy and Dylan, the penthouse suite remains too quiet, too large. He alternates between pacing the marble floor and staring out at the moonlit waves. Normally, he'd bury himself in emails or phone calls, but tonight his phone lies untouched on the desk, overshadowed by the enormity of what's happened. Every time he closes his eyes, he sees the bright curiosity in those twins' expressions and feels a pang in his chest. Eventually, in the early hours of morning, he manages a restless doze on the couch. When the first flush of dawn creeps through the panoramic windows, he rouses to a half-light that seems to reveal every detail of the life he's neglected. It's a quiet reminder that there's business to attend to, not just the business of corporate expansions, but the business of fatherhood. By 7 o'clock, Carter is showered, dressed in a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled neatly at the forearms. Though his mind is miles away from any typical day's schedule, some habits remain unbroken. He sips an espresso from the suite's private machine, tries to review the morning's headlines, but can't concentrate. Finally, he picks up the phone. "Service desk?" he says curtly. "I need you to check on Ms. Emily." "I'm sorry, I don't know her last name," he admits, momentarily off balance. He pictures her, the woman he once knew as an unassuming charity staffer, someone who never drew attention to herself. He never thought about her surname. "Ms. Emily Howard, sir?" The desk attendant replies helpfully. "Yes, Ms. Howard is in suite 1203 along the same corridor. Is there something you'd like delivered?" He hesitates, uncertain how to proceed. "Yes. Could you possibly arrange a breakfast for 3? No, 4, actually. Something child-friendly." He tries to sound confident, but the unfamiliar fatherly instructions come out stilted. "Fruit, cereal maybe, and let them know it's courtesy of me." The attendant affirms politely, and Carter hangs up. He stands in place for a moment, hand still on the phone, wrestling with whether this gesture is too big or too small. He wants to help, but doesn't want to barge into Emily's parenting. Then again, half of him wants to just walk down to suite 1203 and demand a conversation. Something tells him Emily might be unsettled by that approach. He sighs. The day has barely begun, and he already feels out of his element. Usually, by now, he'd have checked half a dozen tasks off his list. But fatherhood doesn't come with a bullet-point plan. A short while later, his phone buzzes. It's a text message from the front desk. "Ms. Howard graciously accepts the breakfast and thanks you. She also suggests meeting by the pool lounge at 10 a.m., if that suits you." That one note is enough to fill him with cautious relief. At least she hasn't cut him off. She's willing to talk. Carter glances at the time. 2 hours until then. He forces himself to open his laptop and tackle some urgent emails, but his eyes drift more than once to the corridor. Every small noise outside makes him wonder if it's Dylan or Daisy running by. Precisely at 9:59, Carter's already in the pool lounge area. A warm coastal breeze sways the palms, while the resort staff flit around with bright towels and trays of fruit juices. The lounge is semi-private, perched slightly above the main swimming area, offering a panoramic vista of the ocean. Guests in wide-brimmed hats recline on daybeds below, but here, Carter stands alone, scanning for Emily and the twins. He spots them first. Emily's wearing a casual sundress with pastel stripes, hair pinned back. Daisy and Dylan hold her hands, each wearing miniature sandals. The children gaze around, dazzled by the bright water reflecting in all directions. Carter's breath catches slightly. This is the first time he's seen them clearly in daylight. Yesterday's tension was overshadowed by chaos. Now, they're simply 3-year-olds discovering a new world. When they notice him, Daisy shyly waves. Dylan grins and quickens his steps, tugging at Emily's hand to hurry up. Carter forces a gentle smile, hoping to ease any anxiety Emily might feel. She approaches, her shoulders visibly tense, though she tries to appear composed. "Good morning," she says, a touch formal. "Thank you for the breakfast. The kids loved the mini waffles." "It was my pleasure," Carter replies softly. Then his attention drifts to the children. "Hey guys," he greets, remembering not to loom too tall. Dylan steps forward, showing off a seashell necklace he somehow acquired. Daisy stands a bit behind Emily, hugging a stuffed toy shaped like a mermaid. They settle around a small table at the lounge's edge. A friendly waiter, obviously briefed about the presence of children, brings colorful fruit smoothies. Dylan pokes at his straw, intrigued by the tiny umbrella perched on top. Daisy peeks at Carter, curiosity mixing with caution. "They've never been anywhere quite this fancy," Emily murmurs, watching the children. "I appreciate you arranging everything. It's new for them." Carter nods. The idea that his own kids have grown up so differently from what he's used to stirs conflicting emotions, guilt, relief that Emily managed so well, and an earnest desire to catch up. "Tell me about them," he says quietly. "About you too. How has it been?" Emily exhales. "Where do I start? We live in a small apartment. I work in a local community center. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and gives me flexible hours so I can be with them. Daisy loves to dance around the living room, making up songs. Dylan is quieter, but he's got a big imagination, always inventing stories for his toy cars. They're good kids, Carter. Really good kids." He listens, every word pulling at a corner of his heart he's never explored. "I believe it," he murmurs. He glances at Dylan, who's trying to figure out how the umbrella opens and closes, and Daisy, who's half hiding behind her mermaid plush. They seem amazing. For a moment, Emily studies him, as if gauging sincerity. She sees an honest longing in his face, something she's not sure he's ever allowed the world to see. They are. And they've asked about their dad before. I just never found the right way to explain. I said you were busy, far away, doing important work. Carter's stomach knots. I'm sorry you had to do all of that alone. But let me be clear. I want to be involved now. This isn't just an impulse. I need to get to know them. Emily's expression is conflicted. I want that for them too, but I'm nervous, Carter. Your life is so big with so many demands. Their life is small, it's stable. I don't want them to get hurt if I vanish? He finishes the sentence for her, keeping his voice steady. That's not my intention. Yes, I have a massive schedule, but I can adapt. They deserve for me to adapt. She looks down at her glass, swirling the straw. All right, she concedes. But we need boundaries at first. They need time to process. Maybe we can do something fun together. Just a simple activity, so they can get comfortable with you. His expression brightens. What about the beach? They haven't swum yet, right? I could help them build sandcastles or something. I assume kids like that? He sounds almost apologetic, as if unsure what normal children do for fun. A slight smile tugs at Emily's lips. She forgot how Carter used to be so direct yet oddly charming in his uncertainty about anything non-business. They adore sandcastles, she confirms, glancing at Dylan, who's valiantly sipping his smoothie. If you're free this morning, we could head down. I have to keep an eye on them. They're still small, so they don't go into deeper water than my knees. She instantly wonders if she's over-explaining, but Carter simply nods intently, as though this detail is crucial to note. Yes, of course. That sounds great. Dylan tugs on Emily's arm. Sand? He asks hopefully, hearing the plan. Daisy perks up at the mention of it, hugging her plush. Their faces beam in the way only children's can, pure, unfiltered excitement. Well, Carter says, clearing his throat, shall we? He stands, offering a hand to Dylan, who takes it without hesitation. Emily gathers Daisy in her arms. The four of them weave past lounge chairs toward a private elevator that leads to the resort's shoreline. As they move, Carter notices the curious stares of other guests. Some recognized him from business news, and now they see him guiding a toddler with uncertain paternal gestures. For the first time, he realizes he's not bothered by the attention. Usually, he hates unsolicited gawking, but at this moment, his focus is on the little boy skipping at his side. They reach the sandy expanse where umbrellas and loungers dot the shore. A dedicated area roped off for VIPs ensures extra space, which Carter wordlessly thanks heaven for. An area away from the crowd might help the twins feel safe. Dylan immediately sprints to the shoreline, stamping his feet as small waves roll in. Daisy squeals when the water laps at her toes, clinging to Emily's leg. Carter steps next to them, carefully rolling up his pant legs. He didn't exactly come prepared with swim trunks. He stands ankle-deep in the sea, feeling the gentle push and pull. He glances down to see Dylan rummaging for shells with utter fascination. Daisy tries to gather courage, stepping from Emily's arms to hold Carter's hand, trusting him for balance. That small gesture floors him with unexpected warmth. They start the first sandcastle, or rather, the first tower that quickly collapses. Dylan laughs uproariously. Daisy shrieks with delight, and Carter finds himself laughing too. He attempts to recall how to pack the sand just right. Fumbling, he knocks over the tower again. The children find it hilarious. Emily stands behind them, half watching in amazement. She's never seen Carter so unguarded. He's patting soggy sand with a genuine grin, hair ruffled by salt wind. He occasionally shoots her a glance that says, "Is this right?" She just nods, giving him tips. "Add a little more water so it sticks. Don't press too hard." The twins dash around, collecting shells to decorate their budding fortress. After nearly an hour, the group steps back to admire a modest, lopsided sandcastle. Dylan sticks a piece of palm leaf on top as a flag. Daisy claps proudly. "It's so big!" she exclaims, although objectively it's half the size of Carter's suitcase. But to them it might as well be a palace. They rinse off at a nearby shower station, and Carter helps the kids dry their sandy feet. Despite his usual distaste for mess, he finds he doesn't mind the grit at all. He's preoccupied with Daisy's squeal whenever the water tickles her toes and Dylan's chatter about how, next time, we should build a moat with sharks. Emily, seeing Carter handle them with surprising patience, feels some of her apprehension ease. Perhaps Carter can indeed adapt if he's this determined. They stroll back toward the resort's plush lounge chairs where an attendant has placed fresh towels and chilled drinks. The twins flounce onto the cushions, exhausted and giggling, their cheeks flushed with sun. Carter straightens up, crosses a glance with Emily. His chest is tight with a strange mixture of joy and sadness. Joy at this fleeting, perfect moment. Sadness that he missed 3 years of little joys like this. But maybe this is the beginning of something real. He sits on the edge of a chaise lounge near the kids, while Emily settles next to him. There's an unspoken understanding that they're forging a new path, a precarious path, but one both want to see where it leads. "This was nice," Emily says softly, so only Carter can hear. "Seeing them laugh, seeing you like this." He nods, gazing at Dylan, who is dozing off with his face pressed against a fluffy towel, and Daisy, who's braiding her mermaid doll's hair with clumsy little fingers. "It was," he echoes. Then, in a voice laced with determination, he adds, "We'll do more of this." Emily can't help but feel hope flicker through her nerves. "Yes," she agrees, "more of this." Above them, the sun climbs higher, promising the start of a day drenched in promise. For now, in this quiet, sunlit cove of the resort, father, mother, and children share a moment that speaks volumes, of heartache, of second chances, and the tentative bonds that might bloom into a true family if they can learn how to trust one another again. When Carter returns to his suite after that morning at the beach, he's hit by a wave of restless energy, an odd mixture of exhilaration and nervousness. He spent nearly 2 hours building sandcastles and chasing giggling 3-year-olds through surf. In his world, that's an anomaly, but somehow it felt more satisfying than any high-stakes corporate deal. He stands near the panoramic window, gazing down at the shore, where he can still spot a trace of bright towels and umbrellas. Somewhere down there, Emily is gently bundling the twins back to their room for nap time. If he squints, he can almost see Daisy's pink sun hat bobbing amid beach chairs. The mental image sends a mild pang through his chest. Already, he wants to see them again. A sharp knock on the door interrupts his thoughts. "Come in," he calls, turning to see his personal assistant Logan slip inside. Logan is a model of cool efficiency, sharp suit, phone in hand, a subdued expression that only cracks when something critical arises. "Sir," Logan begins with the usual crispness, "I've returned your missed calls and reorganized your afternoon schedule for the next set of investment meetings. Also, there's a situation regarding the Darlington merger proposal you wanted to finalize." Carter exhales. Until this morning, the Darlington deal had occupied the top slot on his mental to-do list. Right now, it feels almost irrelevant, overshadowed by the revelation that he's a father. Still, his empire can't just run on autopilot. "Yes," he replies, steeling himself. "Fill me in." Logan references notes on his phone. They're pushing for an accelerated timeline, but the regulators have some concerns about monopolistic practices in that region. It may require you to fly out next week for in-person negotiations. "Right," Carter says, glancing at the calendar pinned in his mind. "We'll see. Let's sort out those details by the end of the day. I don't want to commit to any travel before I make personal arrangements." He nearly stumbles over the word personal. Usually he's wholly available to jet off wherever business calls him, but now he's not so certain. Logan looks up, curiosity flickering in his eyes. "Understood, sir. Should I book a meeting room here at the resort for your Darlington calls this afternoon?" Carter nods, massaging the tension at the back of his neck. "Yes, but keep it short. I have a new family responsibility." His voice drops on those last words, still sounding foreign even to himself. "I'll handle a conference call, not a marathon session. Let them know I have pressing matters." Logan's professional demeanor doesn't waver, but his eyebrows arch slightly. "Of course, Mr. Sinclair. Is there anything else you'd like me to arrange?" He's accustomed to Carter's near-obsessive focus on the company. Seeing him prioritize family time, something Logan never even knew he had, comes as a surprise. Carter hesitates, then says quietly, "Call my lawyer, Jameson. I need to discuss paternity matters, and do it discreetly." He can't bury his head in the sand about official responsibilities. If Daisy and Dylan truly are his children, and every moment spent with them convinces him more, there are legalities to address, inheritance issues, future custody questions. His mind is spinning just thinking about it. Logan gives a respectful nod and steps out. The door closes with a muted click, leaving Carter alone again. He turns his attention back to the ocean, fists tucked into his pockets. Business has always been his refuge. Clear rules, defined outcomes. Fatherhood, on the other hand, is messy, unpredictable, packed with emotion, and yet, maybe it's exactly what he's been missing. He dismisses the unsettling flutter in his stomach. For now, he'll meet his corporate obligations. Then he'll talk to Jameson, and after that, maybe he can see the twins for dinner. The thought coaxes a small smile from him. By mid-afternoon, Carter is in a sleek private conference room courtesy of the resort's executive facilities. The space overlooks a serene koi pond lined with tropical flowers. An elegant screen on the wall displays a video call with the Darlington team, while Carter sits at a polished wood table. Logan by his side, taking diligent notes. And as soon as the regulators sign off, we can finalize the cross-regional distribution, one of the Darlington lawyers is saying, voice tinny through the speakers. Carter responds with polite precision, his usual command glinting through. But every so often his gaze drifts to the clock on the wall. He wonders how the twins are doing. If Dylan is napping or still tumbling around with his toy cars. If Daisy is quietly humming that tune she made up this morning. Are they thinking about him? Probably not. They're 3. Yet he can't entirely quell the flicker of hope that maybe they are. Mr. Sinclair? The lawyer's voice breaks into his thoughts, hinting that Carter's silence hasn't gone unnoticed. Carter straightens, adopting his typical no-nonsense tone. Yes, to ensure this goes through, we'll need airtight compliance on both sides. I won't have my name linked to any borderline legal operations. Let's schedule a separate call for Monday. But for now, you have my word. We're proceeding under strict conditions. The Darlington representatives agree, and the meeting adjourns. Carter disconnects, massaging his temples. Next to him, Logan switches off the equipment. You seem distracted, sir. Hope everything is all right. Carter clenches his jaw. Logan is one of the few people he trusts, but fatherhood is still too fresh a concept to discuss openly. Finally, he exhales, shoulders slumping a fraction. I'm fine, Logan, just personal changes. That's all. Logan nods politely, not prying further. Very well. I'll email the summary of this call. Any other instructions? After a moment's pause, Carter stands. Yes. I want to block off my early evenings, at least for the next few days. No back-to-back calls or dinners. I'll do essential tasks in the mornings, understood? Yes, sir. Logan responds, clearly surprised but offering no objection. Carter's already striding to the door, mentally planning his next move. He'll talk with Jameson about paternal rights. Then he'll find Emily, see if they can arrange some time together, maybe dinner. The mere thought lights an unexpected spark of anticipation. Later, Carter steps into the resort's plush courtyard garden, phone pressed to his ear. Jameson's voice crackles through. So you have 2 3-year-olds? And you're certain you're their father? The lawyer asks, professionally calm, though Carter senses the underlying surprise. From what Emily told me, yes. They look exactly like me, there's almost no doubt, Carter replies, but I want to handle this properly. Should I pursue a paternity test? Legal custody arrangements? Jameson exhales. Given your assets and public position, a formal paternity test is typically wise, just to establish beyond question. After that, you can discuss custody or visitation, though many fathers in your position simply arrange informal agreements if the mother is cooperative. Are you thinking of something more official? Carter pictures Emily's tired but determined eyes, the way she's protected those kids for years on her own. He imagines how she'd react if he tried to bulldoze in with legal demands. I don't want to scare her with lawyers, he admits, leaning against a manicured hedge. But I need to do right by them. If that means formalizing my responsibilities, yes, I'm prepared. All right, Jameson says. Legally, it's best if you and Ms. Howard can come to a mutually agreeable arrangement. It might be a matter of drafting a parental agreement that covers financial support and visitation. You have to figure out how involved you want to be. Carter's throat tightens. How involved I want to be. He almost scoffs. They're my kids, Jameson. I want to be in their lives. I was absent unintentionally, but I'm here now. Jameson's voice softens. Well, that's commendable. Then yes, you'll need a formal acknowledgement of paternity, plus a plan for their well-being. I can set everything in motion. Quietly, if you prefer. Yes, quietly, Carter confirms. His children don't need to be the subject of tabloid gossip. We'll talk more once I speak with Emily about this. Ending the call, Carter runs a hand through his hair. He's never felt so uncertain yet so compelled to act. A test, custody agreements, part of him hates the bureaucratic side of it all. But another part recognizes it's necessary to protect his children's future, especially given his high-profile world. He makes his way back indoors, where he inquires at the front desk if Emily is available. The clerk explains she's at the resort's children's play area with the twins. Carter's heart lightens as he heads there, following the directions along a vine-draped path toward a brightly decorated room full of small chairs, crayons, and cheerful murals of cartoon fish. He peeks in through the glass door. Emily stands by a table, watching as Daisy colors with intense concentration, while Dylan is more fascinated by a giant stuffed dolphin perched in the corner. A resort nanny assists another group of kids at an adjacent station. The entire scene feels vibrant, innocent, and he aches to step inside. He does. The moment Daisy spots him, she squeals, "Carter!" and waves her crayon in the air, dotting the mural with a stray streak of green. Emily's head snaps up, a faint smile crossing her features. "Hi," she greets softly. "I didn't expect you here." He offers a faint shrug. "My meeting ended. I was hoping I could steal you, well, all of you, for a conversation. Maybe we could talk somewhere quiet?" He gives Dylan a playful smile. "I promise it won't be boring grown-up stuff for too long." Dylan leaps up, running to tug on Carter's pant leg, while Daisy toddles behind, proudly holding up her scribbled paper, some combination of a rainbow and perhaps a castle. Carter kneels to examine it, and Daisy beams at the attention. Emily gathers their belongings, following Carter down the corridor until they reach a small lounge area with comfy chairs and floor-to-ceiling windows. The twins settle on a sofa nearby with a couple of plush toys. Emily looks expectantly at Carter. He sits across from her, leaning forward. "I spoke to my lawyer," he begins, deciding honesty is best. He suggests we handle this with proper legal steps. A paternity test is standard procedure, but I'm not doing this because I doubt you, he hastens to add, seeing Emily's face falter. I just want everything formalized, for their sake. Emily's shoulders tense. "I understand," she says quietly. "I expected as much. I've never lied to you about them, but if you need official proof, I'm not against it." He meets her gaze, voice soft. "Thank you. Beyond that, I want to provide for them financially and be part of their lives, but we'll do it on your terms too. I realize this is a huge shift." She takes a moment, glancing at the twins who are absorbed in animating their stuffed animals in a pretend adventure. "They deserve to know their dad," she admits. "I just never wanted them to get caught in a tug-of-war or have you show up only to vanish again. They're little. They bond quickly." Hearing the tremor in her voice, Carter gently places a hand on the coffee table near hers. Not touching, but close. "I'm here," he says, "and I have to figure out how to juggle my work, but I swear I won't disappear. If I have to fly overseas, I can arrange visits, or you can come with them if we agree. I just don't want more time lost." Emily nods, eyes brimming with cautious relief. "Okay," she murmurs. "Okay, let's take it slowly, though. I'm not prepared to uproot them or shift everything at once, but we'll figure it out together." He allows a tight breath of relief to escape. "Thank you," he says, heartfelt, and he glances over at Dylan and Daisy. Dylan is currently making the stuffed dolphin eat Daisy's mermaid toy, causing silly squeals. Carter can't help but smile. "They're wonderful," he repeats softly, then tears his gaze away. "We can talk more specifics later. For now, maybe we can plan a small dinner tonight. I'd really like to sit down with them again." Emily's lips tilt into a wry grin. Dinner might be chaotic. They're picky eaters and can get fidgety, but sure, we can give it a shot. "Chaos," Carter echoes with a faint smile. "I can handle that." "Maybe." They share a small laugh, the first moment of genuine lightness between them. Then Emily calls the twins over, helping them gather their coloring papers. Carter follows them out, stepping into the corridor with a renewed sense of purpose. The next few days, possibly weeks, could be messy as they figure out the new normal. But as he watches Daisy tug on Dylan's hand, whispering excitedly about dinner with Carter, he feels certain it's a chaos he's ready to embrace. The sun inches lower over the resort, gilding the sky in hues of orange and pink. Outside, the tide nips at the sand in gentle rhythms. Tonight, Carter will share a meal with his children for the first time, an everyday thing for most fathers, but an extraordinary milestone for him. He may be known for forging paths in business, but this brand-new journey feels far more vital. Evening settles gently over the resort, casting long shadows across manicured lawns and flower-lined pathways. Fairy lights begin to glow along the garden walls, and a pleasant hum of conversation drifts from various dining terraces. It's in this warm twilight that Carter stands outside a private dining nook, reserved just for them, feeling uncharacteristically nervous. He's attended countless high-profile dinners with investors, politicians, and celebrities. But the notion of eating with 2 3-year-olds and hoping to impress them suddenly feels more challenging than any merger negotiation. He adjusts the cuffs of his tailored shirt, breathes in, and steps inside. The nook is cozy, appointed with a round table draped in crisp white linen. A vase of fresh lilies rests at the center. Large windows showcase the sea, where the sunset paints the horizon in shifting gold and rose. Soft music filters through hidden speakers, barely audible above the ocean's hush. Emily arrives with the twins shortly thereafter. Daisy clings to Emily's hand, wearing a simple sundress dotted with cartoon seashells. Dylan wears a playful t-shirt featuring a cartoon shark. Their eyes roam the table, the fancy napkins, the tall chairs, with the wide-eyed wonder unique to small children. Emily greets Carter with a polite half-smile, still a bit uncertain about how dinner will pan out. "Welcome," Carter says, mustering warmth. He gestures to the chairs set up for the twins, which have booster cushions to help them reach the table. The staff has clearly followed Carter's request for child-friendly seating. "I, ordered a variety, just in case. The chef assured me they can adapt anything." Dylan, spotting a breadbasket, hops in his seat and immediately reaches for a roll. Daisy climbs up with Emily's help, hugging her plush mermaid as she glances around. Carter can't help smiling at their expressions. Everything is so new to them, and their excitement is contagious. A discreet waiter steps forward to pour water, then quietly presents a small menu featuring child-friendly dishes. Dylan points at a picture of macaroni and cheese, while Daisy hesitates until Emily murmurs suggestions. Finally, Daisy picks a mini veggie pizza. Carter requests a simple grilled fish for himself, and Emily orders a light pasta dish. As the waiter departs, Dylan looks at Carter. "You swim with sharks?" he blurts, referencing his t-shirt. Carter chuckles. "No, not usually, but I've been in some intense waters," he offers, thinking ironically of business deals. "Maybe one day I'll see a real shark, though." Dylan's eyes widen with fascination. "Cool, I want to see Big Shark." Daisy quickly interjects, "Me too, but only if it's nice." Carter glances at Emily, who laughs softly. These two are forever torn between loving animals and also worrying if they're friendly. She tucks a stray strand of hair behind her ear, looking more relaxed than he's seen her in days. Plates begin to arrive. A colorful array of fresh fruit slices to start. The twins light up at the sight of watermelon and pineapple, diving in with small forks. Carter tries to help Daisy stab a piece of mango, though he fumbles with the child-sized utensils. Emily smiles, demonstrating how to hold the fork so it won't slip. Bit by bit, the conversation flows. Daisy shares her newfound love of seashells, proudly revealing one she's kept in her pocket. Dylan prattles about the giant stuffed dolphin in the playroom. Carter listens intently, asking questions about their favorite colors and games. Soon, they're chattering away, mac and cheese all but forgotten momentarily. Occasionally, Carter and Emily catch each other's eyes, exchanging a silent kind of relief. The fear of a meltdown is ever present, This is, after all, a fancy resort setting, and toddlers can be unpredictable. But so far, everything's going smoothly. "Tell me more about your job," Carter says to Emily between bites of fish. "I know you said you work in a community center. What exactly do you do?" He's genuinely curious, realizing how little he knows about her life after they parted ways years ago. Emily sets down her fork, wiping Daisy's sauce-smeared cheek with a napkin. "I coordinate activities in classes, like after-school tutoring, adult literacy, crafts for seniors, whatever the neighborhood needs. It's not glamorous, but it's fulfilling, and flexible enough that I can still be there for them." Carter nods. "That sounds meaningful," he says, surprising himself at how sincerely he means it. In his world, everyone's chasing prestige and power, yet Emily's found a way to help others, shaping her schedule around being a mother. He admires that. She shrugs. "It doesn't pay much, but we manage. Sometimes it's tough, especially with rent and daycare costs, but we get by." Carter's gaze flickers to the children, who are now poking at each other's plates to taste each other's dinner. "If you ever need anything," he starts, then stops. He knows money can be a touchy subject. He doesn't want to offend her. Emily picks up on it. "I know," she says, her voice gentle. "And once we sort out the formalities, I won't be too proud to accept help. They deserve it. I just never wanted to chase you for a check. I wanted to do my best on my own first." He inclines his head, swallowing an unexpected surge of empathy. "I see that. And I'm sorry you had to do it all alone." He glances at the twins. Dylan is giggling, attempting to twirl spaghetti strands around his fork like a grown-up. Sauce splatters across the table. Carter quickly offers a napkin, but Emily only laughs softly, used to the mealtime mess. Midway through dinner, Daisy unexpectedly climbs down from her seat and toddles over to Carter, stuffed mermaid in hand. She nudges his arm. "Carter, can she sit with you?" she whispers, holding up the plush toy. Her wide eyes sparkle, equal parts shy and hopeful. Carter's chest squeezes. "Of course," he murmurs, lifting the little mermaid doll onto his lap. Daisy climbs up next to it, apparently deciding Carter's chair is more interesting than her own. She leans against him, nibbling a piece of bread. The unfamiliar warmth of a child at his side makes Carter's heartbeat unsteady. He wraps a careful arm behind her to keep her from tumbling off. Emily looks on, a mixture of surprise and emotion flickering across her face. She's never seen Daisy take so quickly to a stranger, especially a tall, imposing man like Carter. Then again, the daughter sees something trustworthy in him, something Emily herself once saw. The conversation shifts to simpler topics. Carter asks them about their favorite cartoons, Daisy's love for dancing, Dylan's obsession with big trucks. For the first time in his life, Carter Sinclair is talking about cartoons and toy trucks in a serious tone, as though these details matter immensely. Because to these kids, they do. When dessert arrives, mini sundaes with extra sprinkles, the twins cheer. Carter watches them dig in, grinning at each sticky grin they flash his way. Emily quickly intercepts Daisy's attempt to fling a spoonful of whipped cream across the table, turning potential chaos into laughter. Before long, the sugar crash sets in. Dylan slumps in his seat, half asleep, ice cream spoon dangling from his fingers. Daisy yawns dramatically, leaning her head against Carter's arm. Emily stands, gently coaxing them from their chairs. "It's probably bedtime," she apologizes. "We usually keep them on a schedule, or else they get pretty cranky." Carter stands too, supporting Daisy as she rubs sleepy eyes. Dylan clutches Emily's hand, eyes drooping. The staff discreetly clears plates. Carter settles the bill with a quiet nod, ignoring how incongruous it feels to pay for dinner with one child already dozing on his shoulder and the other tottering behind. They walk slowly through the hall toward the elevators. Emily tries to scoop Daisy away from Carter, but the little girl clings to him, whining softly. Emily's brows lift in mild surprise, but she allows Daisy to remain in Carter's arms, at least until they reach the doorway of Emily's suite. Carter carefully passes Daisy over, letting her rest her head on Emily's shoulder. Dylan stumbles in, yawning. Emily flashes him a thankful smile. "They had fun," she whispers, softly so as not to stir them too much. "Thank you for tonight." He hesitates, longing to linger. "Would it be okay if I say goodnight to them?" he asks quietly. "Of course." Emily shifts Daisy so Carter can place a gentle hand on her hair, murmuring a hushed, "Good-night, princess." Daisy mumbles something that sounds like, "Night, Carter," half asleep. Dylan offers a faint wave, nearly toppling over until Emily steadies him. Carter steps back, the weight of fatherhood settling deeply in his chest. "Sleep well," he tells Emily, voice thick with genuine warmth. She nods, stepping inside and shutting the door softly behind them. He remains in the corridor for a second, absorbing the surreal calm. Just a few months back, he never imagined a scenario like this. Standing outside a hotel suite where his own children sleep. All the wealth in the world never prepared him for the simple contentment and profound vulnerability he's experiencing. Eventually, he turns and heads to his own suite, where city lights twinkle across the horizon like scattered jewels. The ocean breeze brushes through an open window. Tomorrow, he'll tackle the legal side, perhaps schedule the official paternity test. He'll talk more with Emily about a plan for the twins' future, where they'll live, how he can best support them. The logistics are dizzying, but tonight, as Carter sinks into the sofa, he feels a gentle wave of optimism. Daisy's tiny hand on his arm, Dylan's sleepy grin. These moments remind him that fatherhood, while daunting, offers a richness he's never tasted before. He exhales, letting go of the day's tensions. For once, Carter Sinclair might go to bed thinking less about stock markets and expansions, and more about bedtime stories and children's laughter. The transition feels jarringly new, but also right. Late the next morning, Carter stands on the suite's balcony, phone to his ear, listening as Jameson's calm voice explains the details of the arranged paternity test. The sun dazzles on the water below, as if reflecting the jittery swirl inside Carter's mind. Even though he's certain Daisy and Dylan are his, the formality of a test carries heavy significance. "They'll send a technician to the resort's on-site clinic," Jameson is saying. "A simple cheek swab for you and the twins, confidential results. It shouldn't take long." Carter exhales. "And Emily's okay with this?" "She's agreed. I've spoken to her briefly. She understands it's just procedure. Once we have that confirmation, you can move forward with any official parental rights you wish to establish." Carter leans on the balcony rail, gaze drifting to the shoreline where palm fronds sway. Below, a few guests lounge on sunbeds, but he's too preoccupied to appreciate the view. "All right," he murmurs. "Schedule it for tomorrow morning then, and after that draft an outline for potential custody. I'll talk to Emily, see what she's comfortable with." "That's wise. Let me know if there's anything else I can do." Jameson's tone holds a supportive note, as though he senses Carter's tension. They end the call, and Carter pockets his phone with a tight breath. This test, the resulting paperwork, it feels so clinical, and yet he's determined to navigate it, for the twins' sake. The last thing he wants is for Daisy and Dylan to grow up uncertain about his commitment. A knock at the door rouses him from his thoughts. He heads into the suite's airy living room, expecting perhaps Logan or resort staff. Instead, he finds Emily standing there, hands folded, a quiet determination in her eyes. "Emily," he says, startled and not unpleasantly so. "Come in." She steps inside, glancing around at the modern furnishings and the sweeping ocean view. Despite staying in a smaller suite, Emily's still not quite used to the opulence that surrounds Carter. "Hey," she says softly, returning her gaze to him. Hope I'm not interrupting. He shakes his head. Not at all. He gestures toward the sofa, inviting her to sit. Once they're both seated, he studies her expression. Equal parts resolve and worry. Is everything okay? Where are the kids? They're at the Children's Center for an hour. There's an arts and crafts session, and Dylan insisted on making a big shark painting. She rolls her eyes affectionately. I wanted to talk to you alone. Carter nods, bracing himself. I spoke to Jameson about the paternity test, he begins, but Emily holds up a hand gently. Me too, she says. I'm not here to argue about that. I'm fine with it. I've got nothing to hide, obviously. She inhales, gathering her thoughts. I just want to make sure we're on the same page about how life looks after this test. I don't want Daisy and Dylan caught in a tug of war, ever. Her eyes flick to his, earnest and unguarded. Carter shifts, leaning forward. I don't want that either, he assures her. I'm not angling for full custody or something extreme. I only discovered them a few days ago. I realize you've been their world from day one. She nods, tension softening slightly. Right. I want them to see you, know you, and have a relationship with you. But we need structure, a routine that helps them transition. Rushing them into your big, busy life could overwhelm them. Carter weighs her words. He pictures his penthouse office, the perpetual calls, flights to foreign capitals. The twins don't belong in a corporate boardroom. So what do you propose? He asks carefully. Emily studies the floor. When we leave here, we'll go back to our life. If you want visits, we can plan them. Weekends, or if you're in town. For now, I'm not ready to relocate. My job, my apartment, it's their home. She lifts her gaze, quiet steel in her voice. I'm not moving in with you, Carter. He almost laughs at the absurdity of expecting them to uproot into his place immediately. I wouldn't ask that, he says gently. It'd be too sudden for everyone. He rubs his chin, taking in how serious she is. But if at some point we want to try living closer, or if you ever wanted a bigger place, I could help financially, Emily finishes, not unkindly. Yes, at some point, but not right away. Let's do this step by step, okay? Okay, he echoes sincerely. He feels both relief that she's not shutting him out and a pang of frustration that it all has to be so measured. After losing 3 years, part of him craves to immerse himself in fatherhood. But he understands caution is necessary. They fall silent for a moment, the hush of the suite wrapping around them. Outside, a seagull cries faintly near the balcony. Finally, Emily speaks again. So, the test is tomorrow morning, right? He nods. We'll go together. The twins won't be frightened, I promise. Just a quick cheek swab. She tightens her jaw. Dylan hates doctor visits, but maybe I can bribe him with stickers, she says wryly. Carter's lips tilt in a half smile. I can help with that. Maybe dangle the promise of toy trucks or stuffed dolphins. Emily's eyes momentarily twinkle. That would work wonders. Then, after a slight pause, she quietly adds, Thank you. For being understanding, I mean, I really did fear you'd be furious. He exhales, running a hand through his hair. I was shocked, angry. But seeing them, I can't be angry. I just want to make it right. There's a softness in Emily's gaze, a silent acknowledgement of the weight he now carries. She nods, standing. I won't keep you. I need to pick them up soon. We'll meet at the clinic at 9 tomorrow? Perfect, Carter affirms, rising as well. He opens the door for her, pausing as she steps out. A thought surfaces. Emily, he says, voice low. Thank you for everything you've done raising them. I realize it wasn't easy. She looks at him, emotion flickering in her eyes. They're worth it, she whispers simply. And then she's gone, footsteps echoing down the hallway until the elevator whisks her away. Carter remains in the doorway a moment, letting the truth settle. Tomorrow, everything becomes official. written in medical fact. Not that he needs a scrap of paper to confirm what his heart already knows, but still it's a step forward. For Daisy, for Dylan, for Emily, and for him, too. That night passes in another swirl of half-formed thoughts. Carter wanders the resort grounds, restless, trying to focus on a pending business call from overseas. Yet even as he speaks with a colleague about quarterly earnings, the image of Daisy's shy smile drifts into his mind. Dylan's boisterous laugh, Emily's steady gaze. By the time Carter returns to his suite, he's mentally exhausted and no closer to controlling the swirl inside. He sleeps fitfully, waking at dawn with a jolt. A faint anxiety pulses in his chest. The paternity test might be straightforward, but it symbolizes a final, undeniable affirmation that he's a father, something that will alter his life's every corner. Come 9 in the morning, Carter is in the resort's tranquil on-site clinic, a modest space featuring cheerful wall murals of coral reefs and smiling starfish. The resort theme extends even to medical corners, apparently. Emily arrives soon after, each hand holding a twins. Daisy yawns, hugging her mermaid plush, while Dylan clutches a stuffed shark, as if preparing for battle. "There's my shark expert," Carter says gently, ruffling Dylan's hair. Dylan gives a bashful grin in return. Daisy mumbles a sleepy, "Hi," burying her face into Emily's leg. The technician, a kindly woman in pastel scrubs, greets them. "We'll be done in just a few minutes," she assures them with a bright smile. "Daisy and Dylan, right? I just need to do a little tickle in your mouth, okay?" Dylan frowns. "No shots?" he demands, eyeing the nurse's kit warily. "No shots," the technician promises. "Just a funny swab in your cheek, like a big Q-tip. See?" She holds up the swab so Dylan can see it's not a needle. He breathes relief, though Daisy still appears skeptical. Emily kneels by Daisy. "Want me to go first?" she asks gently, letting the technician demonstrate. Daisy watches intently as the Q-tip brushes Emily's cheek, mouth parted like she's observing a magic trick. Next, Carter steps up. The technician carefully swabs the inside of his cheek. Daisy doesn't move a muscle, transfixed. After disposing of it in a labeled container, the technician turns to the twins. Dylan volunteers bravely, stuffing his toy shark under one arm. He squirms at the sensation but doesn't protest. Daisy, encouraged by Dylan's courage, allows the swab too, though she squeaks a bit at the mild tickle. "There," the technician says, sealing each sample in a small plastic vial. "All done. The lab will run tests and send the results confidentially. It usually takes about 24 to 48 hours. I'll let the resort liaison know as soon as we have them." Emily gathers Daisy in a hug, while Carter picks up Dylan, giving him a congratulatory pat on the back for being so brave. "Told you, no shots." Carter smiles, amused by the boy's obvious relief. Dylan grins, waving his stuffed shark triumphantly. Outside, the morning sun sparkles over the lush gardens. They pause on a stone pathway just beyond the clinic's doors. Emily's shoulders relax, as though a weight has lifted. "I'm so glad that wasn't traumatic," she murmurs, balancing Daisy on her hip. Carter nods, Dylan's small hand still clutching his shirt. The boy is fascinated by a decorative fish statue beside them. "So now we wait," Carter says, voice subdued. "Yes," Emily replies. "And after that, we'll have the proof everyone expects. I guess it'll be more real." He glances at Dylan, who's babbling about how the fish statue looks like Nemo. Carter's heart twists. "It already feels real to me. But yes, that piece of paper will seal it." Daisy, half dozing on Emily's shoulder, lifts her head. "Hungry?" she mumbles, offering Carter a drowsy look that makes him smile softly. "Me too," he confesses, catching Emily's eye. "Breakfast?" Emily hesitates, then nods. "Sure, let's go feed the beasts." She says it lightly, but there's warmth in her tone. They set off together, following the path back toward the main building. Breakfast in the resort's casual cafe area is an easygoing affair, fewer starched linens and more comfortable seating. Daisy perks up at the sight of pancakes. Dylan insists on pointing out every item on the buffet, from fruit slices shaped like flowers to chocolate muffins. Carter steers him gently to avoid a sugar overload, chuckling at his excitement. They settle at a small round table, the twins on booster seats, plates full of colorful breakfast treats. Carter grabs a coffee, Emily a simple tea. It's not a formal feast, but something cozy. They chat about bedtime routines, how Dylan sometimes refuses to sleep without a car toy by his pillow, how Daisy hums lullabies under her breath until she drifts off. Carter listens, enthralled by these everyday parenting details. He wants to memorize everything. Emily, for her part, notices how Carter's presence puts a gleam in Dylan's eye. Daisy is quieter but keeps inching her chair closer to Carter's, as if drawn by his calm, protective aura. It's a sight that makes Emily's heart ache with contradictory emotions. Relief that he's stepping up, regret that they missed such moments before. By the end of the meal, Daisy wriggles down from her seat and runs to Carter's side, presenting him with a small pink flower from the table's decoration. "For you," she says shyly. Carter gently takes it, pressing it between his fingers as if it's the most precious gift he's ever received. "Thank you, Daisy," he murmurs, genuinely touched. Emily feels tears threatening but blinks them back quickly, offering the twins a bright smile. "All right, kiddos, let's let Carter get on with his day. We've got a nature walk at noon with the kids' club." "Nature walk, yeah!" Dylan whoops, half jumping in excitement. Carter wonders how that exuberance could ever fit in the silent corridors of his corporate life, and if he might soon love coming home to that energy. He stands, slipping the pink flower carefully into his breast pocket. "I'll see you later," he tells Emily, feeling more certain with each passing hour that he wants to be part of every small detail in these children's days. "Thank you for breakfast." She nods, searching his eyes for a moment. "You're welcome. We'll talk soon about next steps." Carter's gaze flicks to the twins, then back to her. "Definitely." They share a fleeting, understanding smile. Then Emily guides the kids away, hand in hand, vanishing into the bustle of resort guests and pastel umbrellas. Carter stands still in the cafe, the small pink flower in his pocket, a tangible emblem of this new role he's stepping into. Tomorrow or the next day, official test results will confirm what they all know. And after that, there's no turning back. Not that Carter Sinclair wants to. For the first time, he senses that in forging a bond with Daisy and Dylan, he might find a kind of success that surpasses anything on a corporate balance sheet. He turns to leave, mapping out his day in his head. Meetings, phone calls, all overshadowed by the memory of two bright-eyed kids who call him by name. The gentle joy coursing through him is disconcerting, but also profoundly welcome. He's never been more prepared to embrace the unknown. Another day passes in a swirl of routine resort bustle. Emily remains busy shepherding Daisy and Dylan through the kids' club activities, nature walks, coloring sessions, a special puppet show. Meanwhile, Carter juggles investor phone calls in the sleek lounge and arranges short, precious interludes to see the twins. At a glance, it might look like any typical vacation, a single mother enjoying the resort's amenities with her children and a business mogul attending meetings by the pool. But beneath that veneer, both Emily and Carter are acutely aware of the invisible clock ticking. They're waiting for the paternity test results. No one truly doubts the outcome. But once that verdict arrives, once the lab confirms, in black and white, that Carter is indeed Daisy and Dylan's father, it becomes more than a heartfelt certainty. It becomes a legal reality, a new direction for four entwined lives. A morning hush settles over the coastal horizon. Pale light shimmers across calm waters as Carter sits on the veranda of his suite, sipping a second cup of coffee, scanning the day's schedule. Even though his personal assistant Logan has kept the day open for potential test results, Carter finds it nearly impossible to focus on standard business tasks. He rereads the same line of an investment prospectus 3 times, gaining nothing. Eventually, he shuts the laptop with a sigh. Today might be the day. and with it, big choices about the future. Before he can dwell too much, his phone buzzes. The resort's front desk manager politely informs him that Ms. Howard and the children are headed to the shore for a casual picnic around midday. A friend from the kids' club invited them, apparently, and Carter is free to join if he'd like. He can't help a small smile. He appreciates that Emily is making an effort to include him in her own gentle way. Sliding the phone into his pocket, Carter stands, glancing at the reflection in the floor-to-ceiling glass. He's wearing a short-sleeved linen shirt and tailored shorts, an uncharacteristic casual outfit for the famously buttoned-up CEO. But fatherhood, he's learning, calls for flexible attire, especially in the presence of sand-loving preschoolers. Midday arrives. Carter makes his way down a winding path fringed with tropical flowers, following signs to a secluded stretch of beach the resort often reserves for families. Laughter and the smell of sunscreen greet him as he steps onto warm sand. He spots Emily first, seated on a large blanket under a striped umbrella. Daisy and Dylan crouch nearby, enthralled by some critter in the sand. Another mother and her toddler chat animatedly with Emily, but as Carter approaches, Emily's gaze shifts in his direction. She offers a small wave. "Hi," Carter says. "Am I, crashing the party?" Emily shakes her head, smiling. "Not at all. We were just about to have sandwiches. The kids found a hermit crab and are convinced it's the most fascinating thing on Earth." He steps onto the edge of the blanket, removing his loafers to go barefoot in the sand. The other mother, a friendly woman named Sylvia, gives him a polite nod before corralling her child to find seashells. Carter senses a flicker of curiosity in Sylvia's eyes. He's accustomed to that. Once she's gone, he kneels next to Emily, surveying Daisy and Dylan as they observe the hermit crab scuttling in and out of its shell. "Look, Carter!" Dylan calls, pointing. "He's inside a shell house." "Wow," Carter replies, leaning in to peer at the little creature. "Very cozy house he's got." Daisy giggles, hands clasped behind her back so she won't scare the crab. He's shy. He keeps peeking out. They watch for a moment longer, then Emily coaxes the twins to let the hermit crab wander back to the shore. Dylan carefully places it near a rock, whispering goodbye as Daisy stands by Carter's leg. It's a small, ordinary moment, yet Carter feels its magic. It's a moment he would have missed if he hadn't been here. They return to the picnic blanket. Emily opens a small cooler, pulling out turkey and cheese sandwiches and some fruit. She hands Carter one wrapped in foil. "Hope you don't mind simple fare," she jokes. "We can't do gourmet every meal." "I love simple," Carter says, meaning it. He unwraps the sandwich and sits cross-legged, noticing Dylan wiggle his way between them, while Daisy flops onto her stomach, nibbling on a slice of apple. For a while, they just eat and chat easily about the kids' morning escapades. Daisy and Dylan relate a story about watching sea turtles with the resort's guides, though Daisy quickly switches to a tale about a big, mean seagull that almost stole her snack. Carter listens, occasionally glancing at Emily, who looks more relaxed than usual, the gentle sea breeze tugging stray strands of hair from her ponytail. Eventually, Dylan crawls onto Carter's lap, finishing his sandwich in wiggly toddler fashion. Carter shifts to accommodate him, feeling a swell of gratitude. This natural closeness, something as plain as a child leaning against him while munching on bread, feels monumental. He puts an arm around Dylan, holding him securely, and the boy leans back contently. Emily catches Carter's eye, offering a soft smile. Once again, she looks on the verge of emotion, but a moment later, the two of them hear a familiar ring. Emily's phone is buzzing from inside her canvas bag. She rummages for it, glances at the screen, and her face goes still. Carter instantly senses the shift. The kids remain oblivious, rummaging through the cooler in search of more fruit. "Is that—" he begins, voice hushed. Emily lifts her gaze, eyes wide. "It's the clinic. They must have the results." A heartbeat passes. Carter's stomach flips. He gently sets Dylan aside, stands, and Emily does the same. She moves a few steps away from the blanket, pressing the phone to her ear. Carter's close enough to catch fragments of the conversation. Yes, that's correct. Thank you for confirming. Yes, I appreciate it. Her replies are subdued, giving little away in tone. Finally, she ends the call, lowering the phone. She turns back to Carter. Behind them, Daisy and Dylan are oblivious, pushing sand around. Emily's lips press together, and Carter notices her hand tremble as she sets the phone in her bag. He takes a careful step closer. So, he asks, heart thudding. A small, bittersweet smile touches her face. It's exactly what we already knew, Carter. The results confirm you're the father. He exhales, an odd mixture of relief and finality. This was expected, yet hearing it out loud sends a jolt through his chest. For a moment, neither of them speaks. The ocean's hush fills the space, and overhead, a seagull cries. Carter's mind races. So that's official, he murmurs, echoing her words from earlier in the day. I guess we proceed with the next steps. Legal recognition, everything. Emily nods, glancing at Daisy and Dylan. Yes, Jameson will guide us, but we can sign any agreements to formalize support, custody, however we want to structure it. Just, let's do it gently, please. The kids don't need to see a flurry of lawyers. Carter's jaw tenses. He can't stand the idea of subjecting them to anything stressful. Of course, he says, voice firm. I'll talk with Jameson about drafting something discreet. Ultimately, I want what's best for them, and for you. I don't want to bulldoze into your life. She seems to search his face, as if testing his sincerity. Then she places a hand lightly on his arm, a fleeting contact that communicates reassurance. I appreciate that, she says quietly. We'll figure out details soon. For now, let's just let them keep playing. Carter nods. Agreed. They share a silent understanding that, at last, the intangible guesswork is gone. In its place stands a new, unassailable truth. Daisy and Dylan Sinclair. The future beckons, uncertain but brimming with possibilities. After the call, Emily quickly suggests a break from the beach, wanting to gather her thoughts privately. Carter respects that, offering to escort the twins back to the kids' club so Emily can have a moment alone to breathe. She looks both grateful and uneasy, but eventually agrees, on condition that Carter bring them straight back after about half an hour. So Carter leads Daisy and Dylan along the resort's winding paths. Dylan points out every statue or fountain with giddy commentary, while Daisy clutches her mermaid toy, quiet but watchful of Carter. Her gaze flickers with a blend of curiosity and trust. They arrive at the bright, cheerful kids' club building, a swirl of colorful murals and glass doors. Several other children are engaged in an indoor game. Carter checks in with the staff, who greet Daisy and Dylan warmly. The twins wave at him as they dart off to join their new little friends, though Daisy glances back once as if to make sure he's still there. He offers a smile and a tiny wave. Be good, he calls softly. I'll see you soon. Then, with the twins safe and occupied, Carter steps outside. The sun is high, the salt air drifting through the palm fronds overhead. He moves to a quieter spot, a small courtyard with mosaic benches and potted hibiscus. His phone feels heavy in his pocket. The next call he must make is to Jameson. But before that, he needs a moment to center himself. He sits on a bench. The mosaic tiles are cool to the touch. Thoughts swarm, legal documents, the idea of regular visitation or partial custody, and how it might upend Emily's life as well. He's determined to proceed with empathy, but also knows he can't shy away from fatherhood. Eventually, he pulls out his phone. Jameson, he says after a moment. The line connects on the second ring. Well? Jameson's voice is prompt, already suspecting the news. It's confirmed, Carter replies softly, feeling the words resonate in his chest. They're my kids. We have the official results. A pause. "Congratulations," Jameson says with understated warmth. "That's big news. So the next step is drafting a formal paternity acknowledgement. I can prepare that by tomorrow. Then we can discuss the custody arrangement. Are you thinking partial custody, or perhaps an agreed visitation?" Carter rubs his brow. "Emily's not ready to uproot them. They live in a different city. I travel a lot, so we'll figure out a schedule. Over time, maybe more, but for now, probably some form of partial visitation. And, of course, I'll provide financial support." "Understood," Jameson says, tapping on a keyboard. "I'll keep it discreet. We can finalize details once you and Ms. Howard talk. Also, Carter, consider revising your estate plan. Not to be morbid, but with 2 heirs now—" "Right," Carter interrupts, voice tense. "Yes, I'll do that." He closes his eyes briefly, imagining the swirl of changes to come. "Draft the paperwork, send it to me. We'll take it from there." "Certainly. And Carter, I'm genuinely happy for you. This might be the best deal you've ever closed." The unexpected warmth in Jameson's tone catches Carter off guard, and he chuckles softly. "Thanks," he murmurs before hanging up. He sits on the bench, letting the phone rest in his lap. The best deal he's ever closed. It's oddly fitting, though fatherhood is hardly a business transaction. Still, it's a momentous shift. He thinks of Dylan's chatter, Daisy's shy gift of that pink flower. They don't care about stocks or expansions. They care about bedtime stories and someone to hold their hand when they're scared. With that thought, Carter stands. He can't hide from the future. He needs to talk it through with Emily, calmly, kindly. They can outline a plan that won't disrupt the children's lives too harshly, but also welcomes him into the family he never knew he had. When he returns to the kids' club to pick up Dylan and Daisy, Carter finds them painting cardboard fish cutouts. A swirl of bright blues, oranges, and greens covers their smocks. The staff member apologizes for the potential mess, but Carter only smiles. Seeing the twins so engrossed, so carefree, makes his chest tighten with a tender longing. Dylan beams at Carter's arrival, hoisting up a dripping fish shape. "It's a big shark, see?" he declares, even though it looks more like a colorful blob with teeth painted on. Daisy, more precise, shows off a sparkling mermaid she's coated in glitter. "She's a princess of the ocean," Daisy whispers, eyes shining. Carter crouches to admire their creations. "Amazing," he says, sincerity evident in his voice. "I can't wait to see them when they're dry." He helps them clean up, carefully removing smocks and washing sticky little hands at a child-height sink. Daisy giggles at the soapy bubbles, while Dylan tries to create a foam beard. By the time Carter guides them outside, each child is sporting broad smiles and flecks of glitter on their cheeks. Emily waits by the entrance, having returned from her brief respite. She catches Carter's eye, reading the unspoken question there. Did he call Jameson? Did he set the wheels in motion? Carter inclines his head in a subtle nod. Yes, it's begun. They gather together in the courtyard. Daisy tugs at Emily's dress, yawning. Dylan rubs his eyes. It's nearing nap time, evidently. Emily lifts Dylan into her arms and Carter hoists Daisy. The little girl nestles her head against him, half-lidded eyes fluttering. "So," Emily says softly as they head toward the elevator, "I guess the next few days, we'll sort out paperwork?" Carter nods, adjusting Daisy's weight. "Yes, I'll keep it as smooth as possible. We don't have to decide every detail instantly, just the fundamentals. Then we'll see how it works in practice." Emily exhales. "All right, that's fair." She presses the elevator button. "And thank you for not pushing me. This is new for me, too." They ride the elevator up. Daisy drifts off to sleep against Carter's shoulder, warm and trusting, while Dylan mumbles nonsense in Emily's ear. At their floor, they step out, moving quietly so as not to wake the dozing girl. Emily opens her suite door, letting Carter carry Daisy inside. The living space is modest but tidy, with a small kitchenette in the corner. Emily gestures for Carter to lay Daisy on one of the beds. He does so carefully, removing her sandals, heart clenching at how delicate she looks when asleep, tiny fists curled beneath her chin. Dylan, half drowsy, clings to Emily's shirt. She sets him down too, and he flops instantly onto the pillow, drifting off. Silence settles, punctuated only by the whir of the ceiling fan. Emily and Carter tiptoe back into the living area, leaving the twins to their nap. They stand by the small table, aware that the next conversation matters. Carter keeps his voice hushed. Jameson is drafting a simple acknowledgement of paternity. We can sign it, and that will be that. Then, if you want, we can talk about a schedule for visits or how to handle everyday finances. Emily nods, arms folded. Yes, I'll look it over. We can talk about child support or anything else that might help. Childcare is expensive, especially if I ever need a sitter beyond my usual schedule. But I'm not used to taking money from you. Her tone wavers with residual pride, and Carter understands. I know, he says gently, but let's call it an investment in their future. College funds, better living arrangements, whatever feels right. She studies him a moment. I appreciate that, and about you seeing them. If you're in town regularly, that's ideal. I don't want them on a plane every other week, at least not yet. If you can come to us sometimes, that might be easier. Carter thinks of his penthouse apartment, sterile and vast, lacking the warmth a child might need. I can come to you, he confirms softly. Or maybe in time we can figure out a comfortable second home if that's something they'd enjoy, a place where they have their own rooms. Emily's eyes flick to the half-drawn curtains, letting in hazy light. We'll see, she murmurs. One step at a time. They fall into a hush again, and Carter notices how the tension in her posture gradually eases. This is uncharted territory, but they're managing, forging a fragile accord for the sake of the children. Finally, Emily suggests that Carter head back to his suite for a while so the twins can rest without disturbance. He nods, stepping toward the door. I'll come by later, he asks, glancing back. Maybe we can do something small, like an early dinner or a walk around the garden? She smiles, a tentative yet genuine curve of her lips. Yeah, that sounds nice. They like seeing you, Carter. You make them happy. His breath catches, an unexpected wave of emotion surging in his chest. They make me happy too, he admits, voice hushed. I'll see you soon, Emily. With that, he slips out, closing the door gently behind him. The quiet corridor seems charged with significance, as though every footstep resonates with a newfound purpose. In that moment, Carter Sinclair realizes that fatherhood isn't just a label on a legal document or a source of fleeting warmth. It's an ongoing vow, a promise to share in the chaos and the wonder of guiding two small humans through the world. The thought is as exhilarating as it is humbling. He heads back to his own suite, mind brimming with images of Daisy and Dylan sleeping soundly in that modest hotel bed. He pictures them growing up, maybe visiting him in his city, or him traveling to theirs. He envisions birthdays, holidays, everyday joys that were once foreign concepts in his meticulously organized life. Everything is changing indeed, yet as Carter reaches his suite, that knowledge no longer sparks fear. Instead, it ignites a quiet, steady hope. The late afternoon sunshine settles softly over the resort, bathing every palm frond and polished tile in a golden glow. Up on the 12th floor, Carter eases back in a lounge chair on his suite's balcony, phone in hand, trying to tie up loose business ends. After placing call upon call to finalize a property deal, to confirm a board meeting date, he finally exhales. His mind can't linger on corporate obligations for long. It keeps drifting back to Daisy and Dylan, dozing a few doors down. As he sets his phone aside, the suite's buzzer sounds. He stands, curious, and crosses the marble floor. Opening the door, he finds Logan, his personal assistant, holding a slender folder. "Sir," Logan greets, stepping inside at Carter's invitation. "Apologies for interrupting, but these documents arrived from Jameson's office. Something about a paternity acknowledgement?" Carter nods, trying not to show just how meaningful these papers are. "Yes, thank you," he says, taking the folder. Inside, he expects the formal, meticulously typed statements confirming what the lab results have made clear. With this, fatherhood is etched in black and white legality. Logan hesitates, clearing his throat. "Also, you have an evening board call with the East Asia Division, but I can rearrange if necessary." Carter flips through the first pages of the document, scanning legalese. "No, that call can wait. Let's push it by an hour or two." Logan makes a note in his digital planner. Usually Carter's schedule is the law of the land, immutable, jam-packed. Now Logan sees how quickly Carter's priorities have shifted. He's not sure what to make of it, but he simply nods. "Understood. Let me know if you need anything else." As Logan leaves, Carter carries the folder to the living room, setting it on the glass coffee table. He gazes down at the official lines, feeling a rush of emotions. This single signature will cement the link between him and his children in every legal sense. There's a faint tremor in his hand as he picks up a pen, placing it aside again. No, he should do this with Emily. They need to sign together, affirming the new shape of their family. He's determined not to overshadow her role with his usual corporate briskness. He steps out onto the balcony once more, letting the ocean breeze ruffle his hair. Down below, tiny figures roam the resort's pools and gardens. He wonders if Daisy and Dylan are awake from their nap yet, if they might be frolicking near the kids' center or about to wander the shore. In a matter of days, he's learned to crave their presence. Early evening arrives, painting the sky in long strokes of purple and orange. Carter feels tension not in his shoulders, not from business, but from anticipation. He paces the suite, glancing repeatedly at the door. Finally, a gentle knock resonates. Opening it, he finds Emily, holding the twins by the hand. Dylan is wide-eyed and bouncy, while Daisy rubs her eyes, still easing into wakefulness. "Hey," Emily greets. "We thought we'd see if you wanted to grab dinner." She hesitates, noticing the paperwork on the table. "Or, if you're too busy?" "No, definitely not too busy." Carter gestures them inside. "Come in." He notices that Dylan's left shoelace is untied, and he crouches automatically to fix it. The simple parental gesture seems so natural now, though it would have baffled him a week ago. Dylan grins in thanks, then scampers over to investigate the suite's wide windows. Daisy lingers by Emily, blinking at the folder. "Mommy?" she whispers, seeing Emily glance that way. "It's grown-up stuff," Emily says gently. "Don't worry about it." Then she meets Carter's gaze. "Is that?" He nods. "Jameson's draft. We can sign it whenever you're comfortable." He tries to keep his tone neutral, not wanting to pressure her. "We don't have to do it right this second." Emily gently steers Daisy toward a plush armchair and sets her down with a small coloring book. "Why don't you color for a minute while I talk to Carter, Daisy nods, half yawning. Dylan, hearing about coloring, joins her, rummaging for crayons. With the twins occupied, Carter and Emily move a few steps away. He picks up the folder from the table, opening it to the page requiring signatures. It's straightforward. Just acknowledges me as their father with your agreement and states we're establishing a long-term plan. Then Jameson can file it with the state quietly, so no public drama. Emily exhales, reading the lines. Though the language is precise, formal, there's relief in knowing they won't be drawn into a legal battle. "Okay," she murmurs, scanning each clause. "It basically says you'll provide financial support, have shared decision-making on big things like schooling or medical care, and will work out visitation by mutual agreement." "Exactly," Carter says. He slides a pen across the table. "We can refine any detail you dislike." She pauses for a moment, a swirl of emotion flickering across her face. Then, quietly, she presses pen to paper, signing her name where indicated. Carter follows, his own signature neat and deliberate. When he lifts the pen, the air between them feels charged, like they've crossed a threshold. "All right," Emily whispers, shutting the folder. "So that's that." Carter nods, setting his pen aside. He notices a quaver in her voice and, without overthinking, reaches to give her hand a light squeeze. "It's a good thing," he says softly. "We're doing this so they never have to wonder about anything." She meets his eyes, lips curving into a tentative smile. "I know, thank you." Her gaze shifts to the twins, who are oblivious to the legal milestone just passed. Daisy is carefully coloring a mermaid fin while Dylan hums a tuneless melody. They're safe, carefree, loved. Emily breathes out the tension in her shoulders. Carter tucks the folder away. "Now," he says, changing the subject to lighten the mood, "should we do dinner? Or maybe you have other plans?" Emily glances at Daisy and Dylan. "They mentioned pizza earlier, but the resort's main pizzeria might be busy. Maybe we can keep it simple?" "Simple pizza sounds like a perfect celebration," Carter replies, relieved at the normalcy. "Let's do it." They head downstairs as a group, walking at a relaxed pace so Dylan can admire the ornate lobby fountain. He tosses a coin in with serious concentration, wishing for lots of toys. Daisy follows suit, whispering a secret wish Emily can't quite catch. Carter, smirking, slips them each another coin, indulging their excitement. At the pizzeria, they snag a cozy corner booth. The children immediately begin flipping through the laminated menu with pictures of cartoon tomato mascots. Carter can't recall the last time he sat in a casual restaurant booth, let alone one with crayons and kids' meal checkboxes. But somehow it feels right, this protective bubble of normal life shared with two chatty, hungry kids. They order a half-cheese, half-veggie pizza for the table, plus breadsticks. Dylan bounces in his seat, delighted to watch the open kitchen where a pizza chef tosses dough theatrically. Daisy points and giggles whenever the dough spins in the air. Over the gentle hum of conversation, Emily and Carter slip into an easy rhythm, wiping stray sauce drips, refilling sippy cups, listening to Daisy detail her favorite colors. Dylan asks Carter if he can drive a big truck one day. Carter laughs, promising maybe someday he'll let Dylan ride in a real one. And for the first time, Emily notices a subtle shift in Carter. He's not glancing at his phone every 5 seconds. His posture is relaxed, his attention fully on the children. It's almost as if this casual dinner is the highlight of his day, not an item squeezed between business calls. Something within her softens further. He's really trying. Their pizza arrives, piping hot. They enjoy it in a flurry of, "Ooh, careful, it's hot," and playful attempts at silly jokes. Emily can't remember the last time she saw Daisy so enamored with one slice of pizza, or Dylan so enthralled by the concept of pepperoni shapes. Carter quietly beams, passing napkins around, reminding Dylan to chew before talking. Such a fatherly admonition, so natural, it surprises them both. At one point, Daisy slips out of her seat and climbs onto Carter's bench, nestling beside him. "Yummy," she proclaims, mouth half full of cheese. "I like eating with you." Carter's heart melts at the simple declaration. "I like it too," he replies. "Maybe we can do it a lot more." Daisy nods earnestly, as if that's the best idea in the world. Meanwhile, Dylan tries to feed Carter a bite of his slice, giggling when Carter pretends to gobble it up. Emily sits across, content to watch the quiet joy unfold. When they've nearly finished, a staff member passes their table, recognizes Carter, perhaps from a business magazine or an earlier interaction, and does a slight double-take. The staffer smiles politely. "Good evening, Mr. Sinclair," and then glances at the children. There's no malice in the stranger's gaze, just surprise. Carter simply nods, unruffled, focusing on Daisy's chatter. Still, Emily's eyes flick to Carter, a question unspoken. Will the world pounce on this story? A high-profile CEO discovering hidden children? Carter senses her worry, so he lightly squeezes her hand under the table, a silent reassurance. They'll handle it. This moment belongs to them. After the last crumbs are cleared, Carter foots the bill without drama, and they gather up the twins. It's not too late, but the children are definitely winding down. Dylan yawns. Daisy leans heavily against Carter's side. Emily insists on carrying Daisy, but Carter waves her off. "Let me," he says, scooping the sleepy girl into his arms. They meander through the resort corridors until they reach the floor where Emily's suite is. The hallway lights are muted, reflecting on the marble floors. Dylan tugs Emily's hand and looks at Carter. "Can you read us a story?" he asks with wide, hopeful eyes. Emily glances at Carter, half apologetic. She knows bedtime stories are usually a private routine, but Dylan's request is heartfelt. "He's pretty set on it," she explains softly. Carter, heart warm, nods. "Of course, if I'm not intruding." "You're not," she assures, opening the door. Inside, the suite is dim, the lamp casting a soft glow. The kids change into pajamas with Emily's gentle guidance. Daisy in a pastel mermaid nightgown, Dylan in shark print shorts. Carter politely looks away during the swift changing, but he can't help a small smile at the thematic consistency. Mermaids and sharks, all day, every day. Then they gather on one bed. Dylan snuggles a stuffed dolphin, Daisy her mermaid doll. Emily picks a short picture book with simple text. Carter settles in, kids at each side, flipping through pages about a friendly sea turtle on a journey home. He reads in a calm, steady voice, occasionally pausing for Daisy's quiet question or Dylan's excited comment. Emily perches at the foot of the bed, watching the scene in a hush of gratitude. Carter's presence feels natural and warm, not forced or performative. Halfway through the book, Daisy's eyes droop, and she slides down onto Carter's arm. Dylan tries to fight sleep, but a big yawn betrays him. By the final page, they're both more than half asleep, lulled by Carter's voice and the gentle hush of the suite's air conditioning. Emily carefully lifts Daisy, tucking her under the covers. Carter leans, coaxing Dylan to lie down beside his sister. "Good night, buddy," he whispers, ruffling the boy's hair. Dylan mumbles something unintelligible, but it sounds like "night, Carter." They dim the lamp, stepping into the adjoining room. A peaceful, comforting silence hangs between them. Emily crosses her arms, though her expression is more serene than guarded. "Thank you for staying," she whispers. "They'll remember nights like these." Carter's throat constricts with emotion. "I hope they do." He drags a hand through his hair, still amazed by how fatherhood has reoriented his entire sense of self. "I'll let you guys rest. Get some sleep." Emily escorts him to the door, lingering for a moment in the dim light. "We signed the papers tonight, but seeing you read to them means more than any piece of paper," she confesses softly. "It's proof that you're here for them." He dips his head, unable to find words strong enough. Instead, he gently squeezes her shoulder, then steps out into the corridor. The door closes with a quiet click, leaving Carter alone again. But he no longer feels truly alone. His family, an unfamiliar word in his once solo vocabulary, lies just behind that door. It's a fragile, glowing bond, something he's determined to protect and nurture. As he heads back to his suite, the tension that once defined him seeps away, replaced by a gentle, hopeful resolve. In the hushed corridors of the resort, Carter Sinclair realizes the magnitude of this evening. Signing a legal form or reading a bedtime story, both can be life-altering. And somehow the bedtime story feels like the true promise, sealed in the quiet rhythms of two children drifting off to sleep. A pale sunrise finds Carter out on his suite's balcony once again, sipping a mug of steaming coffee. Beneath him, the resort gardens gleam with fresh dew, the ocean reflecting shards of early light. Usually he'd be scanning market reports at this hour or perhaps reviewing notes for an upcoming merger. Instead, his thoughts stray to the two little ones who might still be curled up in bed down the hall, dreaming of mermaids and sharks. In a matter of days, fatherhood has begun to shift Carter's priorities. Last night's moment, signing official documents with Emily and reading a bedtime story to Daisy and Dylan, lingers in his mind as something immeasurably precious. It's an identity he never asked for, but now can't imagine dismissing. The swirl of fatherly emotions is new, uncharted, and oddly calming. After a slow inhale, he steps inside, where his phone pulses with notifications. He glances at the screen. Emails from department heads, messages from Logan about upcoming deals. One in particular catches his eye. A note from an investor who's caught wind of rumors about Carter's personal life. Carter sets his jaw, reading the lines. The rumor mill has started churning. Some journalist from a financial magazine seems curious why Carter's extended his stay at the resort, seen repeatedly in the children's areas. His first reaction is annoyance. He values his privacy, but overshadowing that is concern for Emily and the twins. They deserve a peaceful life, not paparazzi trailing after them. With a grimace, Carter types a firm reply to his investor. "My personal life is not your concern. The business remains stable." Then he calls Logan, instructing that any press inquiries are to be politely deflected. He'll deal with it if and when needed, but not at the cost of overshadowing his brand-new bond with his kids. By mid-morning, Carter meets Emily and the twins on a quiet strip of beach near the property's northern end, where fewer guests roam. The tide is low, revealing a stretch of smooth sand perfect for toddler adventures. As Daisy and Dylan race ahead collecting shells, Carter and Emily amble behind, discussing potential next steps once they check out of the resort next week. "I'll need to go back to the city," Carter admits, carefully stepping around a patch of seaweed. "But I'd like to visit you soon, maybe once a month to start, and I can stay in a hotel near your apartment, or get a short-term rental so the kids don't feel uprooted." Emily nods, adjusting the sun hat on Daisy's head when the little girl darts back. "Month-by-month visits. That could work. We can talk about holiday breaks too, or extra weekends if your schedule allows." She glances at him uncertainly. "I just don't want you to feel tied down if your job is demanding." Carter's lips quirk in a faint smile. "My job has always been demanding, but this is one obligation I won't compromise. I can shuffle my hours around. I'm learning it's possible." He looks at her, sincerity evident in the set of his jaw. "Thank you for being flexible, too." They walk on in companionable silence, occasionally calling out to Dylan when he strays too close to deeper water. He scampers back, brandishing a piece of driftwood like a sword, while Daisy yells something about the mermaid's magic wand. Their laughter ripples in the salt-tinged air. After they've strolled for a while, the two children run up to Carter, each taking one of his hands. "We found so many shells," Dylan crows. "Look!" He holds out a sandy handful of small shells, some broken, some glimmering in pale pink. Daisy lifts a bigger conch shell that dwarfs her palm, beaming like she's uncovered buried treasure. "That's amazing," Carter says, crouching to examine their treasures. "Maybe we can wash them off and take them home." Daisy nods fervently. "I want to keep them forever." Carter gently ruffles her hair, heart swelling at her excitement. "Then we will." They spend the rest of the morning in the gentle waves, the twins splashing in knee-deep water under Emily's watchful eye, Carter hovering nearby with an arm outstretched in case one of them stumbles. Each squeal of delight feels like a tiny victory, a memory etched into Carter's mind. When noon approaches, they gather under a thatched beach umbrella, drying off with striped resort towels. Emily unpacks a simple lunch, fruit, crackers, and juice boxes. As Daisy munches her apple slices, Dylan babbles about seeing a real dolphin next time. Carter promises he'll arrange a boat trip one day, maybe a safe, guided excursion so they can glimpse dolphins from a distance. Emily arches a brow in amusement. "These kids might hold you to that promise." she jokes. They remember everything. Then I'd better keep it, Carter replies, no trace of hesitation in his voice. They sit there, the four of them in a circle of towels. The midday sun blazes overhead, but a light ocean breeze keeps it comfortable. The twins grow drowsy, lulled by the lullaby of surf and full bellies. Soon, Dylan curls up in Carter's lap, eyes fluttering shut, while Daisy leans her head on Emily's shoulder with a contented sigh. In that quiet moment, Carter notices Emily's gaze lingering on him. She's half smiling, half frowning, as though uncertain whether to voice her thoughts. Finally, she musters the courage. "You're doing really well," she says softly. "They've taken to you so fast." Carter smooths a hand over Dylan's hair. "I'm still learning," he murmurs. "But it feels right being with them." He studies Emily's face, the subtle worry lines near her eyes. "Is something bothering you?" Her throat bobs in a swallow. She adjusts Daisy's position, resting the girl's cheek against her chest. "I guess I'm worried about how things will play out when we leave. This place is a bubble. You're here, they're happy. But once we're home, life is busy. You have an empire to run, Carter. And the kids, well, they'll expect you to be around." He nods, slowly understanding. "I've been thinking about that too," he admits. "I can't pretend I won't have travel or obligations, but I won't vanish on them." He sets his jaw, glancing down at Dylan's sleeping form. "I want them to know they come first." Emily searches his expression. At length, she nods. "Okay, then let's keep lines of communication open. We'll plan visits in advance, talk daily if you like, video calls maybe, let them see your face often." A gentle wave of relief washes over Carter. "Thank you," he says quietly, heart brimming with gratitude that Emily is letting him in. "I'll make it work." Eventually, the heat nudges them to pack up and return indoors. Dylan rouses as Carter stands, blinking in confusion, while Daisy continues sleeping in Emily's arms. They shuffle back across the hot sand to the resort's shaded walkway, heading toward the air-conditioned interior. Near the entrance, a concierge politely hands Carter a message. "Pardon me, Mr. Sinclair, but there was a call from your main office," he says, casting a discreet glance at the slumbering children. "They mentioned some urgency. A Ms. Fletcher from your acquisitions team?" Carter tenses. "Thank you." He pockets the note. Ms. Fletcher rarely calls unless something major is happening. Emily notices the shift in his demeanor. "Go," she whispers, nodding at him. "I'll handle these two, maybe get them napping in the suite. Catch up with us later." He hesitates, guilt flaring. Dylan's small arms cling to him and Daisy is asleep in Emily's hold. But business calls. With a quiet sigh, he gently passes Dylan to Emily so she can balance them both. "I'll come by soon. Promise," he says, kissing the top of Dylan's head before stepping away. Moments later, Carter is in the calm hush of his suite, phone pressed to his ear. Ms. Fletcher's voice arrives in clipped tension. "Sir, we have an issue with the Darlington merger. Regulators flagged a potential antitrust violation. Our legal counsel needs you in person tomorrow if we want to keep negotiations afloat." Carter frowns, pacing the living room. "Tomorrow? That's abrupt." "Yes, sir," Ms. Fletcher says. "They insisted on a face-to-face meeting with the top executive. If we delay, we risk losing the whole deal." He inhales sharply, gaze drifting to the corridor that leads to Emily's door. Tomorrow? That means cutting short his time here, stepping away from Daisy and Dylan just when they're blossoming in his presence. But business doesn't wait. The entire Darlington project has been months in the making. Backing out now could cost the company millions and tarnish his reputation for reliability. "Fine," he says at last, voice resigned. "Book me on the earliest flight you can arrange. I'll handle the rest." He ends the call, heart pounding with conflict. On one hand, he's built his success by never flinching from critical negotiations. On the other, leaving the twins so soon feels like a betrayal of everything he's promised. But perhaps it's just a test. Can he juggle fatherhood and empire building? A short while later, Carter stands outside Emily's suite, the signed paternity papers in a courier envelope under his arm. He's come to break the news, an uncomfortable weight dragging at his conscience. Emily answers, face softening when she sees him. Inside, Daisy and Dylan are awake, quietly busying themselves with a puzzle on the rug. "Hey," Carter greets softly. "How are the kids?" "They're good. Woke up from their nap a bit ago," Emily says, stepping back to let him in. "Everything okay? You look tense." He forces a small exhale, crossing to where Daisy and Dylan are. "Hi, kiddos," he says, ruffling their hair. They respond with bright smiles, Dylan proudly showing off a puzzle piece that forms part of a sea turtle's shell. Carter kneels to help for a moment, heart aching at how easily he could spend the rest of the afternoon here, part of their daily life. Then he stands, facing Emily. "I need to talk to you," he says quietly, gesturing toward the kitchenette area to give the twins some space with their puzzle. Emily's features tighten with worry, but she follows him. Carter tells her about the Darlington crisis, the demand that he fly out tomorrow morning. She absorbs the news, shoulders sagging. "So, you'll have to leave earlier than planned." He nods, remorseful. "I hate it, but yes, I'm sorry. The big meeting is the day after tomorrow. I have to prepare. If I don't show, we risk losing the entire merger." Emily glances at the twins. Daisy tries to fit a puzzle piece in the wrong spot. Dylan helps her, giggling. Their carefree bubble stands in sharp contrast to the adult reality. "We can't keep you from your livelihood," she murmurs. "It's okay, Carter. Really, we'll be fine." Her acceptance, though understanding, twists his gut. "I wanted a few more days with them," he admits, voice low. "But I can come back. As soon as the deal is stable or we finalize negotiations, maybe I can return next weekend?" Emily tries a reassuring smile. "We'll still be here, or back at home if we check out. Just call me, we'll figure it out. I don't want to hold you back from your responsibilities." Carter scowls, frustration flaring. "I don't see them as separate. My fatherly responsibility is just as important. But I guess this is what balance looks like, leaving when I don't want to." Emily places a hand on his arm. "You're showing up, Carter, in the ways that count. We'll keep daily calls, right?" He nods, breathing a tad easier. "Yes, and after the meeting I'll come see you, maybe next weekend or the one after, as soon as I can manage." He glances at the twins again. Daisy laughs gleefully as the puzzle finally comes together, a bright seascape. Dylan cheers, raising his arms. Carter's chest tightens. "I should tell them I'm leaving tomorrow, but not in a scary way." Emily nods. "Maybe after dinner just say you have a work trip. Keep it simple. They're only 3. They won't fully grasp it, but at least they won't be blindsided when you don't show up for breakfast." That evening, Carter invites them to his suite for a simple room service dinner, hoping to create one last comforting memory before his abrupt departure. He tries not to let the tension show as they munch on chicken tenders and nibble fries. Daisy climbs into his lap, and Dylan brandishes ketchup packets like a comedic swordsman, delighting in Carter's chuckles. When the plates are cleared, Carter kneels so he's eye level with the twins. "I have to go on a trip tomorrow," he explains gently, resting a hand on each child's shoulder. "But I'll call you every day, okay? And I'll come see you really soon." Dylan tilts his head. "Trip? Where?" He's too young to grasp the complexities, but he knows enough to sense Carter won't be around for a while. "Somewhere far for work," Carter says, forcing a light tone. "But I'll be back." Daisy frowns, lips trembling slightly. "But we like playing with you." His heart clenches. "I like playing with you too, sweet pea, and we'll play again soon, I promise." Emily quietly edges closer, offering a comforting presence. Daisy climbs into her arms, looking downcast. Dylan tries to be brave, but Carter sees the confusion flicker in his eyes. It's a painful reminder that fatherhood demands heartbreak sometimes, missing moments he can't replicate. Still, Carter musters a determined smile. "Think about the next time we build sandcastles," he encourages them. "We'll make one bigger than ever, maybe a whole city of castles with moats and towers." "That would be so cool!" Dylan brightens, momentarily appeased, while Daisy nods with watery eyes. Later, Carter walks them back to their suite, arms draped protectively around their small frames. At the door, he kneels again, hugging both children carefully. "Good night, my little explorers," he whispers, placing a tender kiss on each brow. Dylan giggles. Daisy leans into him with a tired nod. Then he stands and meets Emily's gaze. "I'll text you once I'm at the airport, and the moment I land. If you need anything at all, call." She nods, quietly pressing her hand over his for an instant. "We will. Travel safe." The door closes and Carter remains motionless in the corridor. His flight is early tomorrow, a stern demand from the business world. The tension in his chest feels heavier now that he's glimpsed how wonderful these days could be, how natural it feels to share bedtime and mealtime with Dylan and Daisy. He returns to his own suite, heart subdued. In less than 12 hours, he'll be airborne, diving back into the cutthroat realm of mergers and expansions. But for the first time, Carter Sinclair departs not as a lone wolf, but as a father, one who's promised to return, and he intends to keep that promise, no matter the cost. The next morning, the Darlington deal crashes into Carter's schedule like a thunderclap. A black car idles at the resort's entrance before sunrise, lights slicing through the pre-dawn gloom. Carter steps in, carrying only a small overnight bag and a heavier burden in his chest. Normally, he would settle into the back seat and check emails, already pivoting into his executive persona. But this time, his thoughts remain firmly on what he's leaving behind. Somewhere above him, on the 12th floor, Daisy and Dylan sleep curled beneath thin blankets, their stuffed animals tucked close. Emily might be staring out her window right now, or maybe she's dozing with an ear always tuned to the children's breathing. Carter exhales and closes his eyes, struggling to suppress the pang of regret. He managed a quiet phone call to Emily at 5 in the morning, whispering a farewell. The twins were still asleep then. He promised to FaceTime them later. It was a clumsy goodbye. He's never been good at personal farewells. But Emily reassured him with soft words that they'd be all right. By the time the chauffeured car rolls out of the resort, the horizon is tinged with lavender. Carter stares at the rear-view reflection of palm trees receding into the distance. His phone pings with flight details, seat numbers, meeting agendas. He won't be gone forever. Just a few days, maybe a week if negotiations get complicated. Still, it's the first time he's truly realized that leaving for business has consequences beyond a missed cocktail or a rescheduled board dinner. Now, it affects Daisy and Dylan, two small hearts that count on him to return. The flight to the city is straightforward, though Carter's nerves churn with every passing hour. Upon landing, he rushes into a flurry of corporate chaos. Meetings, luncheons with regulators, strategy sessions with lawyers. The Darlington merger stands at a precarious edge, threatened by legal red tape and stiff competition. Habitually, Carter would throw himself into these high-stakes negotiations, relishing the challenge. And he does. He's still Carter Sinclair, the unstoppable CEO, but a piece of him is perpetually aware that while he haggles numbers and terms, there are children back at the resort, soon to return home themselves, who might wonder how or why he vanished so quickly. He calls Emily during each break, voice tight with fatigue but always trying to sound upbeat. She answers in hushed tones, describing the kids' day. Daisy drew a giant mural of ocean creatures. Dylan found a plastic truck in the resort gift shop and named it Carter Jr. "They're fine," she says, though Daisy asks a bit more often, "Where's Carter?" Dylan insists Carter must be off fighting sharks, which Emily has gently corrected to fighting business deals. Carter manages a tired chuckle at the story. He invites them to call him any time. He wants to see their faces, even if it's via screen. Late in the week, after endless rounds of negotiation, Carter finally emerges with the merger stabilized. The regulators tentatively sign off, Darlington's executives relax their stance, and the legal teams exchange relieved handshakes. Under normal circumstances, Carter might celebrate at a high-profile restaurant, savoring the triumph. Now, as soon as he steps out of the conference room, his first action is to text Emily. "Deal done. Coming ASAP. Miss you all." He boards the earliest flight back, mind buzzing with ideas for fatherhood. This time he's not returning to a pristine penthouse or empty hotel suite. He's hurrying to rejoin Daisy and Dylan, to keep that promise of a bigger sandcastle or a bedtime story if the hour is late. The shift in his priorities feels monumental, and yet so natural. When he arrives back at the resort, the sky is an afternoon blue. A staff member at the front desk greets him with polite smiles and updates. Emily and the children haven't left yet. They extended their stay by an extra day, wanting to give Carter a chance to see them before they all depart for their respective homes. Relief floods him. He heads straight to Emily's suite, resisting the urge to sprint along the corridors. He knocks. The door opens to reveal Dylan in a t-shirt emblazoned with a cartoon shark, eyes lighting up at the sight of Carter. "You came back!" the boy exclaims, as though there'd been real doubt. Daisy squeals, racing forward with her little arms lifted. Carter kneels, hugging them both close, inhaling the comforting scent of sunscreen and crayons. For a moment, the entire corporate world recedes, leaving just this pocket of joy. Emily hovers nearby, a smile tugging at her lips. "Welcome back," she says softly. Carter stands, ignoring the suit jacket wrinkling at his elbows, and crosses the few steps to pull her into a brief, grateful embrace. It's a gesture that surprises even him, but Emily doesn't resist, merely rests a hand on his shoulder in acknowledgement. "You extended your stay?" Carter asks, turning to watch the kids rummage for the puzzle they'd recently completed. "I'm glad." She nods. "We were actually set to leave this morning, but the airline let me switch to tomorrow. The kids wanted to see you again, and I thought you might need closure on these few days, too." He exhales, beyond grateful. "Thank you," he manages, voice low. "That means a lot." They spend that final afternoon in a swirl of gentle chaos, letting Daisy and Dylan show Carter every new shell or drawing they collected in his absence. Emily confesses they spent much of the previous day quietly, building mini sandcastles alone, missing Carter's presence. Now the children soak up his attention, peppering him with questions about his shark battle, aka business trip. In the evening, Carter and Emily put the finishing touches on the future plan. The paternity forms have already been filed, but now they talk specifics of schedules. Perhaps Carter will come every third weekend, or Emily and the twins can visit him if he's too swamped to leave the city. They test different scenarios, aware that no single blueprint will fit every situation. Still, they're forging a roadmap, a shared commitment. Eventually, with the kids tucked in bed for the night, Carter and Emily stand on her balcony, watching the moon shimmer on the water. The resort's lights cast a gentle glow on the beach below, where only a few late-night strollers wander. "I'm leaving early, too," she says quietly, arms folded against the evening breeze. "Tomorrow morning so we can settle back home. I start a new round of activities at the community center next week. And the kids, well, they'll need normalcy again." He nods, a small pang in his chest at the thought of them going back to that life he knows so little about. "I'll follow soon, once I handle some post-merger tasks," he says. "This is the first time I'm actually eager to break away from the office, but it'll be a balancing act." Emily reaches out, placing a hand on his sleeve. "They'll be okay, Carter. You'll see. This is what families do. Juggle, adapt, just don't vanish. That's all they need to know, that you always come back. He swallows the knot in his throat, meeting her gaze. The moonlight reveals the earnestness in her eyes. "I promise," he murmurs, the words gentle but firm, "and thank you for letting me be part of their world." She offers a wry smile. "You are their world. Now that they know you exist, I can't imagine them letting you go." He returns the smile. "I hope they never do." At dawn, Emily and the twins check out. Carter meets them in the lobby, ignoring curious glances from other guests. The kids buzz with morning energy, half excited about going home, half sad to leave the resort's adventures behind. Daisy clings to Carter's hand. Dylan holds Emily's. Together they step outside where a taxi waits by the curb. Carter lifts their suitcases into the trunk. The moment of parting looms, painfully real. Dylan wraps his arms around Carter's waist in a fierce hug. Daisy tugs Carter's pant leg and he kneels to hug her too, pressing a gentle kiss to her temple. "You'll call me, okay?" he whispers. "I'll call you every day. We'll pick a bedtime story to read on video chat." Daisy nods, watery-eyed, but trusting. Dylan bobs his head eagerly. "Yes, we can show you our new shells at home," he says. "They'll be bigger in our house, I bet." Carter chuckles, brushing a tear from Daisy's cheek. "They might look bigger," he teases. "I can't wait to see them." Emily stands by, quietly composed, though there's an unmistakable emotion in her gaze. She leans in, offering Carter a short embrace. He murmurs thanks for everything, for giving him this chance. She only nods, pressing her lips together. Finally, Carter steps back. The twins climb into the taxi, Emily behind them. As the door closes, Dylan waves from the window. Daisy flashes a small, solemn goodbye. The taxi rumbles away, merging into the flow of vehicles departing the resort. Carter stands rooted, eyes fixed on the retreating taillights, until it disappears around a curve lined with flowering bushes. Only then does he slowly turn, re-entering the lobby. His suite remains on the 12th floor, empty and silent. He's got a business meeting in a couple of hours, some final follow-up about the resort's events. But all he can think of is how soon he can plan his next trip to see them. The emptiness left by their departure feels new, almost startling. Yet under it lies a certain warmth. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new story, one where fatherhood coexists with his empire. Carter Sinclair walks through the marble corridors, bag over his shoulder, heart brimming with promise. He may have a flight later, or 1,000 corporate fires to extinguish, but Daisy and Dylan are waiting for him in a small apartment somewhere, with colorful shells and a big place in their hearts. He will be there, no matter the distance. He's made a vow to show up, to be present. And in that resolution, Carter finds a deeper fulfillment than any business victory could ever yield. If you enjoyed this story, don't miss the next one. Just click on the screen